Namaskar and a very good morning to all the ladies and gentlemen who all have joined us here today to witness the IEEE Second International Conference on Intelligent Engineering and Management. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all the delegates, faculty members, staff, students, and participants. I'm your very own host, Ruchira Srivastav, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, who is going to hold the session for you all today. It gives me great pleasure to hold such exuberant session and welcome delegates and invitees for a day-long deliberations. We have distinguished guests and industry veterans from around the globe. This is the continuation of successful international conference which has been organized successfully in the previous years. This was started in April 2019 where it observed an August gathering of eminent personalities from the UK, researchers and students from across the globe. It was held virtually in June 2020 given the prevailing conditions of the pandemic. Though this could not stop us following the same tradition of exchanging knowledge, innovation, and creating research environment for next generations. The prime objective of the conference is to bring together the scholars, scientists, and industrialists from all across the world to the wide spectrum of engineering and management fields to a common platform and achieve to present the ongoing researches in different fields and hence to foster research relations between the universities and the industry. The conference also gives participants a review of the latest and upcoming trends in the next few years. It provides the delegates to share their new ideas and application experiences face to face here with us. This conference aims at exposing the audience to the need of more development and research for innovation. So, without any further delay, now I request Professor Pratik Chaturvedi to please introduce the eminent guest for today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to all the organizers and participants. I take this privilege to introduce the session chairs to the participants and all the audience. Our very first chair is Dr. Umar Muhammad Modibo. Dr. Umar Muhammad Modibo is from Modibo Adama University of Technology, Yola, Nigeria. He has received BTech, MTech, and his PhD in operations research. Dr. Modibo has been the recipient of university grant to study his MTech in operation research. Further, he has also been the recipient of Nigerian Tertiary Education Trust Fund to study his PhD. He has received a Young Research Award and the Research Excellence Award from the Institute of Scholars in India in 2020 itself. These all grants and awards are the testimony of Dr. Modibo's academic excellence. His research area includes mathematical programming and its applications, research reliability optimization, fuzzy programming, and much more. He is also the associate fellow and lifetime member to many international bodies of repute, and currently he is also writing an authored book on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Our second chair of the session, who will be joining us very shortly, will be Dr. Fariba. And Dr. Fariba is a postdoc from Machine Learning Research Lab at Scientific Network for Innovation and Research Excellence in Washington, D.C., United States. She has earned her PhD degree in industrial engineering from Yaz University in Iran with magnificent GPA of 19.26 out of 20. Further, she has done her master's and bachelor's of science in industrial engineering from University of Science and Technology of Mazandaran, Behsar. Her publications are in the field of applied soft computing, engineering application, artificial intelligence, and many more such related areas. She has been proposing novel heuristic methods and meta heuristic algorithms. And also, we are joined by our third chair of the session, Dr. Subbarao. Dr. Subbarao is an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Kanigala Institute of Engineering and Technology, Korangi. Dr. Rao examines PhD in Computer Science and Engineering at Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Kanikala in Andhra Pradesh. His regions of examination incorporates big data, data mining, artificial intelligence, and related areas. He has significant work in SCIE and Scopus Index journals. Dr. Rao has also been able to swim well in the field of intellectual property. This was a few glimpses about the session chairs. I will hand over the now session to Ruchira ma'am.
Before that, I would like to extend heartfelt gratitude to all the session chairs who have spared time from their busy schedule to join us today. It is our proud privilege to have you here, and we're really looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful session under your able guidance. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you, Nana ma'am. Thank you, all the session chairs. Now I would start the session with the first presentation. It is on multi-lane capsule network architecture for detection of COVID-19, and the presentation would be by Mr. Shashank Sridhar.
Hello.
I request Mr. Shashank to please share his slides. You can now start, and please restrict yourself to the time limit of 5 minutes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Sashank Sridhar. I'm from College of Engineering, Indiana University. I'll be presenting a paper, Multi-Lane Capsule Network Architecture for Detection of COVID-19, and it is co-authored by Soumya Sanagavapu. So I'll be dealing with why capsule networks are essential in identifying features within COVID-19 X-ray images. I will deal with the system design, which includes multi-lane capsule network architecture and its implementation. And finally, I would end it with the results analysis, conclusion, and future works. So COVID-19 pandemic has affected the lives of millions of people across the globe in the last year. This disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus has affected more than 127 million people across the world. India has the leading number of confirmed cases in Asia and the third highest in the world. Right now, the diagnostic method for testing the positivity of COVID-19 is through RT-PCR test. Apart from this, we could also include deep learning based COVID-19 identification modules, which help us to determine the presence of COVID-19 using CT scan as well as X-ray images. Convolution neural networks have invariance properties with equivariance due to post estimation in them, and these are handled well with capsule neural networks. Through the dynamic routing algorithm, CapsNet maps the features present within these images and helps to get co-location between the features. A multi-lane capsule network involves parallel processing of the input images through data-independent lanes. System design. So this is the design which we have proposed. We take the image, we pass it through the convolution layers, and then we pass it through multiple primary capsule layers, which are each parallel to one another. Each primary capsule layer identifies features in a slightly different manner. And finally, all the features are concatenated together, and the relationship between the features is identified by using a secondary capsule routing layer. And finally, it is squashed to give us the final output as to whether the image is positive or negative. The data set description, we have scraped the data from Radiopedia, which is an online repository for medical images. We have scraped chest X-ray images of COVID positive as well as COVID negative images. As we can see, the training set consists of 1,244 images of negative and 434 images of negative in the testing set, and positive will consist of 690 and 212 images. The test train split is 25%. So the first layer is convolution layer, which identifies features through filters or kernels. It helps to develop a scalar feature map. The primary capsule layer maps these features into a vector form. It tries to find out changes in orientation, position, and scale of features. This is done through convolution, reshaping, as well as squashing. The squashing algorithm which we are used is given in as algorithm 1. Once this is done, we group the primary capsules into lanes. Each lane identifies a certain set of features, and each feature is slightly different from the other features which are extracted. This increases the number of features which are available for routing. The secondary capsule performs routing, which is nothing but finding out the relative position of each feature within the X-ray image. The weighted sum of all the input predictions are calculated by using a dynamic routing algorithm, which is nothing but the dot product between the input feature vectors. Once this is done, a single feature matrix from the routing algorithm is quashed to determine whether the COVID-19 is present or not. This is done using the output layer, which calculates the scalar probability of the presence of a class. Implementation. Here we have pre-processed and augmented the images using Keras image data generator using the parameters given in table 2. And then we built the multi-lane capsule network architecture as seen here with the feature vectors being present in the images. Results and analysis. This is our training graph. We can see that the training accuracy reaches a peak of 96.41% and the training loss reaches a minimum of 10.48%. We can see that we have stopped the training before the model can start overfitting. This is the confusion matrix obtained by testing the images. We can see that the number of false positive and false negative is negligible, implying that our model is able to identify the images perfectly. We also test a model using other features such as precision recall, F1 score, etc. These help to determine how well our model performs. We check the region under the curve as well as area under the curve, region of convergence as well as the area of curve. It is calculated that the area under the curve is 95.6%. This indicates a high performance in testing. Conclusion and future work. Capsule neural networks help to identify the dimensionality of the data and helps to reduce this by using parallel data processing. We have done this by using a multi-lane capsule network architecture. We could improve the performance of this by increasing the data set, and we have used X-rays right now. We could handle this by using CT scans as well. We could also try to handle data imbalance problems, which are a major problem right now, considering the number of positive images present across the world is lesser than the number of negative images. We are grateful for the chairs of ICIEM 2021 for giving us this opportunity to present our paper. I would take any questions.
Thank you, Siddharth. I now request the session chairs if they have any question. Okay, thank you, Siddharth. I think no questions. We will now move further with the second presentation, that is on object detection for autonomous driving using YOLO algorithm by Mr. Abhishek Sharda. I request Mr. Sharda to please share his screen.
Okay, so the topic of my presentation is on object detection for autonomous driving vehicles using the YOLO algorithm. Now, to explain to you the methodology and primary objectives of this particular project, the reason why we choose the YOLO algorithm is because the other algorithms that are already there for computer vision are two-stage detectors, and they take up a lot of detection time when the detection happens. But the YOLO algorithm basically detects in one go. So our main objective in this project was to basically prepare a model that is capable of detecting objects in real time, which means in video frames dataset. Now, we trained our model on the Google Colab and then basically downloaded the custom trained weights into our local machine and then basically ran the model on web camera as well as on real-time video data. Here is the architecture of the YOLO algorithm. Now, in the YOLO model, we basically have a backbone and a detection block. So the blue blocks here basically represent the backbone of the particular architecture, which is the CSP darknet. And the yellow blocks represent the detection blocks, which are basically responsible for detecting the objects that are being visible on the video. How the YOLO algorithm works is basically it divides the entire frame into certain grid cells, 19 by 19 in this case, and then basically runs the model on all those grid cells at a single at the same time. The anchor boxes here that we've used is two, which means in each grid cell, two bounding boxes can be generated. Now, bounding boxes basically represent the label which is being detected in the particular video frame. Uh, when this happens, there are a lot of bounding boxes that are generated, which can be seen in the next slide. Now, here in the right hand side of this slide, in the left hand side of this slide is where a lot of bounding boxes are generated for a particular object in this video frame. Now, when we apply non-max suppression, which means we use a threshold to basically remove all the other boxes which do not contain the absolute center of this particular object. And on the left hand side, we can see the refound image of after the non-max suppression. Now, how is an object represented in a particular image? In a particular video frame, it is there are a total of 6 parameters that basically are used to represent that particular object. First parameter basically contains whether or not an object is present in that particular grid cell or not, which is represented by the PC. And then we have the bounding box coordinates, which basically represent all the coordinates of this particular rectangle, which is detecting this object. And after that, we have the class of the object that is being represented. So the first thing that we did was put this take the initial weights of the YOLO algorithm and then run the model on it. Right. The initial trained weights contain have been trained on a huge data set of more than 1 million images. And what we've done is we've just trained it for the purpose of autonomous driving, which means we've just taken the classes of objects which are going to be found on the road. Right. And so here is the result, which is when we implemented it on the initial train weights. As you can see in this video, there is a bounding box being done around me, and it is moving along with me moving. So the data acquisition was basically done from the Google Open Images data set. From there, we used the OID v4 downloader to basically get all the images along with the labels. And this is the directory structure in which we use the images in. So we basically trained the model for 8 different classes, which is airplane, bicycle, building, bus, car, person, traffic light, and traffic sign. So the next step was to process these images and sort of convert them into YOLO understandable format. So in order to do that, we basically wrote a Python script to convert all the labels into the YOLO understandable annotations, which takes in the format of bounding boxes and the class labels along with the presence of that object in that particular image. So after that, we began the preparation for training it on the Google Colab, where we zipped all these files and sent it to our Google Drive. And this is the directory structure that we had created. Along with all the other directories, we also created a backup folder, which was basically used to put in all the weights during the training process, so that at any point of time, if our training is stopped, all the weights are being put in the backup folder. And here are the weights that were generated from there. Now, after using those weights to implement it in the model, the mean average precision that we received was 74.6% for all these images. Now, the difference between this and the initial pre-trained weights is that in the initial pre-trained weights, the model is trained for 80 different classes. And here it is only trained for 8 different classes. And the mean average precision over there was 56%. And here we improve it by 74.6%, even though we have very fewer computational resources. So the next thing is we basically show you how the epoch-wise transition of the results take place. After the 1000 weights mark, we see that the weights started to the accuracy started to the increase in accuracy started to reduce basically. So that's where we basically stopped the training. We initially we ran it for 3,000 epochs, but then after 1,000 we stopped it, because after that, as you can see, the increase in the average precision has reduced significantly. From 600 to 500, we can see a jump of from 48 to 74%, but after that it's only a 3% increase for a total of 1,000 epochs. So after completing all the training and custom training, when we implemented it on our local machine on the webcam, here is the result for that. Here is a video from the street where we ran this custom trained model as well. So in conclusion, basically the things that we need to work on now are the detection rate. So the detection rate at this moment is 4 frames per second, which is a considerably good score, but we still want to improve it to at least 7 to 8 frames per second, so that the detection is much more faster. And apart from that, we want to reduce the false positives and false negatives that were there in the video, like a few references that I had used. Thank you so much, and now I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sharda. I now request the panelists if they have any questions. Okay, we will move ahead with the next. Thank you, Sharda, Mr. Sharda. Now we will move ahead with the next presentation, that is on survey on face recognition. I request the presenter, Mr. G. Thilagavati, to please share his screen.
Yeah, very good morning to one and all present here. Myself, Dr. N. Tilagavati. My co-authors are Dr. Swaminathan sir and then Dr. T. Amadama. My title is the Novel Bioinspired Optimization Framework for Effective Cropland Allocation and Utilization. These are the contents I'm going to discuss. Introduction. Agriculture is the process of crop cultivation, soil management, irrigation optimization, land allocation, fertilizer optimization, and managing livestock. Most of the agricultural lands are converted into construction sites and then industrial sites. So agricultural land is reduced. So that farmers are facing multiple challenges to meet out the overall food needs and to satisfy the food demand in the future. So that we need to optimize the available land to give the properly and effectively utilize the available land. Land optimization is one of the crop planning optimization problem. So optimally allocates the available land to selected crops, thereby improving the crop yield and profit. So land optimization is a challenging task to facing the allocating land to various crop types, crop growing duration, soil types, climate, irrigation, water, land availability, and etc. Crop types are classified as plantation crops, agricultural crops, horticultural crops, manure crops, and forage crops. Among these, agricultural crops grown in Coimbatore region are taken for this research work. These are the objective function. This is a multi-objective function. Objective 1 is the net returns maximization, which is shown in the equation 1. In this equation, RI is the revenues computed from the cost and productivity of the ith crop, which is shown in the equation 2. E is the expenditures included seed cost, manure cost, fertilizer cost, irrigation cost, and labor cost, which is shown in the equation 4. Equation 3. Equation 4 shown the maximize the production, which is calculated by using the land and productivity of the ith crop. Second objective is the minimization of water demand, which is equation shown in the equation 5. In this problem, we have two constraints. Constraint 1 is the total cultivation area should be lie between the minimum area and then maximum area. It should not exceed the maximum area. It should be between greater than or equal to minimum area. Second constraint is the land allocation to each crop should be greater than or equal to 2,000 meters square for small medium land category, and then it should be greater than or equal to 4,000 meters square for medium land category, which is shown in the equation 7 and 8. The methodologies used in the crop planning optimization problem are social spider algorithm, which imitates the behaviors of the social spiders. It's one of the bioinspired algorithm. Ant colony optimization is also one of the bioinspired algorithm, which imitates the behaviors of the foraging behaviors of ant colony members. The both social spider optimization and ant colony optimizations are a famous bioinspired algorithm, which is used to solve the real-time problems. The results are compared with the Lingo Global Optimizer. These are the agricultural data collected from the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University. Table 1 shows the crops grown in Coimbatore region, which are categorized into two types. One is the all crops and then cash crops. Table 2 shows the land category. Available lands are categorized into two different types. One is the small, medium, and then medium category. Based on the available land and the crops, the scenario, 4 scenarios are tabulated in the table 3. The results and discussion. Table 4 shows the optimization results obtained by social spider algorithm and colony optimization and the lingo tool. The relevant results under the corresponding land allocation, returns, water demand are calculated in this table for all the 4 different scenarios, and then net return maximization and water demand minimization. Table 5 shows the statistical minimum standard deviation and 95% confidence intervals are calculated for 3 different algorithms for both maximization, net return maximization and water demand minimization for all 4 scenarios. This 2 pictures, figure 1 and figure 2, shows the comparison of land allocation and production with the 4 scenarios by social spider algorithm and ant colony and lingo. The figure shows that the social spider algorithm giving better solutions than the ant colony and the lingo tool. So the social spider algorithm giving better solutions. Results. This is the Pareto optimal solutions predicted for the 4 different scenarios. It is the multi-objective function. So we calculated Pareto optimal solutions to obtain the maximum and then to obtain the 2 objectives. Conclusion: the social spider algorithm results compared with ASIO and the lingo results. Rule curves are established which could show the improvement of net returns and water demand concerning the various scenario studies. The algorithm has tried to allocate the entire cropland for cultivation of multiple crops, thus proving the efficiency of social spider algorithm technique in the reduction of unused land. This research outcome is well suitable for providing cropping suggestions to the farmers with limitations in terms of the land availability and the water resources for homing. So the future work is optimization of other factors in crop planning, such as optimization of soil, labor, transportation, climate, weed, fertilizer, and pesticides can be considered. Results of this research can be used for cropping suggestions to the farmers with different land holdings and limited water for farming. These are some of my references. Thank you. Any queries?
Yes, actually, well done for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
I can see you are comparing Lingo with the other two. Is Lingo part of the optimization algorithms, or is a software for solving numerical problems?
Lingo comparison, sir?
Yeah, this is SSA is an algorithm, SEO is an algorithm, but Lingo, I think, is a software.
Lingo is
it's
a
not
tool,
an algorithm.
It's not an algorithm, it's a statistical tool, sir.
Yes, it's a software. So I think putting it under algorithm, I think we should revisit it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I compared algorithm results with a statistical tool. It's a giving a land allocation, and then the results are produced, and then the obtained results are compared with a social spider algorithm, sir.
It's okay.
Okay, sir.
What is the difference between a Pareto optimization and Lingo optimizer?
Pareto optimal, sir?
Pareto optimization and Lingo optimizer.
Lingo is a tool, sir. Pareto is a solution, sir. It's a Pareto optimal solution is obtaining for the multi-objective optimizations problems. It gives the certain solutions for the maximization and minimization, sir. Here we are comparing. We have 2 objective functions. One is the maximization and another one is the minimization, sir. At certain points we have.
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, at certain point we have to obtain the both objective functions. One is the maximization, another one is the minimization. For that, we have to compare, find the Pareto optimal solution. So,
Pareto optimization solution, minimization, maximization also there. Why using the Lingo optimizer?
Lingo is a tool, sir.
I think.
Lingo,
Sorry, I think the problem because you are comparing Lingo with other 2 different algorithms.
Yeah.
So that is why he's asking this question. So Lingo should not be compared as an algorithm. Lingo is a software.
Yes, sir. Lingo is a tool.
So I think you mix up the thing. That is what I asked you initially. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But it's a very good work. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It's very useful for the society performers, sir.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thingala, sir, and thank you, the panelists, for your questions. Now we will move further. The next presentation would be on the intrusion detection or system in cloud computing environment, a comprehensive review. and the presentation would be by Ms. Pooja Rana. I request you to please share your screen.
Good morning to everyone. Today I'm here to give a presentation on detection of attacks in cloud computing environment, a comprehensive review. My paper ID is 322. Introduction. As we know, cloud computing is in today's world is becoming very popular as it provides the computing services at a low cost, and the computing services are of very high quality. The cloud computing architecture has three basic features: broad network access, rapid elasticity, measured services, on-demand self-service, and resource pooling. The cloud computing has four deployment models: public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, and hybrid cloud. So cloud can be deployed in public, private, community, and hybrid. The very common public cloud is the Microsoft Azure. The private cloud, very common, is the Elastra private cloud. The community cloud, very common, is IBM software layer. And the hybrid cloud is the Amazon Web Services. The next, cloud computing provides three types of services: software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. The very common example of software as a service is Dropbox and Salesforce. Platform as a service example is Google App Engine and Windows Azure. And infrastructure as a service is Google Compute Engine and Amazon Web Services. This is the NIST model of cloud computing, which is having 5 essential features of cloud computing, 4 deployment models of cloud computing, and 3 service model of cloud computing. The next is cloud is attracting many hackers because of its open nature, and the cloud also generates a large amount of traffic. So the attackers or hackers are getting more attractive towards the cloud. The cloud has multi-tenancies, multi-domains, and multi-user autonomous administrative infrastructure, which makes cloud more prone to different security risks. The cloud also has lack control over the complete infrastructure, which makes the security a major issue for implementing the cloud computing. The diversity of services like the software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service provided by the cloud also increases the risk of cyber attacks on the cloud. Earlier, we are using the firewalls for protecting our network or system, but in case of cloud computing, firewalls are not very effective, as there are insider attacks which are affecting the cloud from inside, and the firewalls are not effective in that case. So there comes the role of the intrusion detection system, which is a whole complete system for detecting various attacks in the cloud computing environment. There are mainly these types of attacks which are affecting our cloud: denial of service, user to root attack, backdoor channel attack, insider attack, probe attack, distributed denial of service attack, and port scanning attack. These are the very common attacks, and the major attack which is affecting the cloud is the distributed denial of service attack. And the latest, in February 2020, on the Amazon Web Services, the distributed denial of service attack affected a lot. After that, intrusion detection system. What are intrusions? Intrusions may be the legitimate users who are trying to obtain privileges which are not given to them, and they may be triggered by the attackers who are trying to access the resources of the cloud through the internet, and they may be privileged users who are misusing their rights for accessing the rights of the cloud. And intrusion detection system is a hardware, software, a combination of both, which automates the process of detecting the intrusions in the computer system or the network. There are 4 types of intrusion detection systems used in the cloud. First one is network, next is host base, after that hypervisor, and the last is distributed. The most common is the network intrusion detection system, which is detecting the attacks based on the behavior of the network. The host-based intrusion detection is detecting the attacks on the behavior of the particular system, which is the host. Hypervisor is based on the hypervisor which are installed on the system, and in distributed intrusion detection, the intrusion detection system is distributed all over the cloud, and they are communicating with each other for detecting the attacks. Next, there are three types of techniques used by the intrusion detection system. The first one is signature based, next is anomaly based, and after that, last is hybrid based. Signature based is based on particular features of the attack, and they are already stored in the database, and the attacks are detected when the features are matched with the signatures and stored in the database. Anomaly based attacks are detecting the attacks by detecting the behavior of the network, and hybrid is combination of both. Today, the researchers are working on the hybrid technique, which is combining the both features. The signature based is detecting both known and the signature based is detecting the only known attacks. This is the major drawback. It is not detecting the unknown attacks. But the anomaly based is detecting the both types of attack, known and unknown attacks. After that, this is the literature review. These are the various papers which I have studied, and these are the latest papers which are developing the intrusion detection system for detecting the attacks. The first one is the AirVani, generated by AirVani. The data set is generated by the SNOT. It is a tool, and they are detecting the DOS, only the DOS attack in the cloud environment, and they have used the various classifiers, the support vector machine, navy base, and random machine. And after experimentation, they have analyzed that support vector machine is better than the other classifiers. After that, the ICIEM, they have used the UNSW and B15 dataset, and they have detected various attacks like fuzzers, DOS, worms, backdoors, and they have used k-means clustering with support vector machine. And the results are showing that the accuracy of proposed work is better than others. The next is ICIEM. They have used three types of databases. These are the standard benchmark databases: DARPA, KDD Cup, and NSL KDD. And after experimentation, they have these are the various papers which I have reviewed, and the research findings are that security is one of the major issue out of many issues of the cloud computing. Earlier, we are using authentication, authorization, and also firewalls for the security purposes. But these are not sufficient. These are only the mechanism. So for the cloud computing, we have to develop a system for the detecting the attack. So we have developed the concept of cloud intrusion detection system came into the cloud computing. The researchers are working a lot for developing the various intrusion detection system. Most of the researchers have considered the attack detection problem as binary problem, like they have detecting the attack whether the packet has attacked or not. But in future, we should also consider the problem as multi-class classification problem, which will detect the attack types, which type of attack it is, which type of attack it is. Also, the hybridization of the supervised and unsupervised techniques should came into existence, which will result in better detection of the attacks. And the now the as the artificial intelligence came into existence, after the in the artificial intelligence, deep learning concepts are coming. So researchers should also focus on the deep learning instead of the neural networks, which are finding the results better by going deep into the problem. And the conclusion is that the cloud computing is growing in the IT industry rapidly, but security is the major issue for it because of its open and distributed nature. There are various attacks like DDoS, indoor attacks, which are affecting our cloud. So, and these are big obstacle for many organizations as they are not adopting the cloud. So intrusion detection should be strong, and it should detect all types of attack. Fuzzy logic, neural network, support vector machines are the common classifiers which are used by the for the detection of various attacks. So in these, the researcher should also develop such type of intrusion detection system in which the classifiers are optimized by the optimization techniques, which will help and generate better results by optimizing the parameters of the classifiers. These are the references of my paper. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Rana. I request the panelists if they have any questions.
Yeah, my simple question is, Safuja, is your paper a review paper or you have experimented some
Sir,
applications?
it is a review paper. Yes, sir.
Okay, but during your presentation, it seemed to be you have some experiment in the paper, and it is not in line with the title. I think you should consider that.
Okay, okay, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Now I will proceed further for the next presentation that would be on intelligent technologies adoption and their effects on the performance of Indian manufacturing SMEs in the modern era, an IRP analysis, and the presentation would be by Mr. Bhavish RK. I request Mr. Bhavish to please start sharing his screen. You can
Good
start.
morning to all our present here. I'm Bhavish. I'm here to explain about the topic of intelligent technology adaptation and their effects on performance in Indian manufacturing in SMEs category. And we have done this through IRP analysis. That has been done by Dr. Ravinder Kumar, Harish K, Kavan Singh, and myself, RK Bhavish. We are from Mechanical Department of Amity. And this paper has been identified and studied the challenges which have been facing through the SMEs while implementing the intelligent automation, and what are the performance and effects which they have got through this automation. And we have used IRP to analyze the ranking of the factors which we have collected through questionnaires and other things. And from IRP analysis, we have observed that there are a number of areas where a company has been lacking behind, because like if you see in the category of research and development, the funding has been not enough, as the automation has been going on for where there's not enough funds to do the automation or do the research for automation in all the small and medium-sized companies. Long-term planning and of intelligent automation been lacking because of there's no much knowledge and awareness in this automation process. And mainly during this pandemic which has been going on at present, the business and the world which has been running has been really very difficult and very uncertain. Nothing can be predicted in future. So for instance, the production capacity of companies has been drastically reduced in due to these challenges which have been faced due to the pandemic. And these challenges can be like lockdowns which have been restricted areas, or labor migration which have to be done due to where the laborers have to go to their families to take care of their family, and demand for falling demand for the raw materials and other and few other challenges has been there. And most of the work been done in SMEs in developing country like India has been done by manual operations, where there is lack of robotics or any automation which has been implemented in the factories. In the past few years, the adaptation of automation training has been like a new topic which has been going on in the industries, and they're also trying to implement them in their factories and other facilities which they have their maximum. And in the past few years, especially automation is affected due to pandemic, which has been lack of labor and cash flows, and other big problem which they have been facing through. And countries like India, even the government has been pushing and they have been supporting the SMEs to implement all these technologies and modern facilities, modern technologies in their facilities. And right side, the picture shows that some of the types of intelligent automation which they been there. And there's lack of, as I told, lack of fund organization has been thing. And few companies have been involved enough of convert. The few companies also converted their facilities into all these PPT, kits and all these reusable masks and other hand sanitizers facilities, where they have to do all those to sustain themselves during this COVID-19. And what are the challenges we have discussed through this paper is that there's no the intelligent automation knowledge is not enough, support for management and intelligent automation not enough, trained manpower is not there as of present at where we have taken a survey and all those processes, and investment is not enough as financial which I've been told, and government incentive has been not knowledgeable in the cases. Various factors which performance factors which we have considered in selecting the IRP analysis is that delivery products of time. We have to deliver how they deliver the products in time, and how it is consistent and continuously they're reducing the cost of the product as it is goes on for a long period of time. And based on the quality of the output of the product which have been there and the ability to implement the new technology which has been coming up, it should be easier and thing, and the current market share which they have, and reduction in transportation cost and labor productivity and modern quality control thing which we have done. The questionnaire and responses which we have collected has been designed by ourselves, and it has been circulated in the region of southern part of Tamil Nadu, which has been mainly specifically we have done in Coimbatore. And we have totally collected 50 responses, and these responses of around 42 are from the industrial person and 8% are from the academic side. And what we have, our conclusion is that to by studies to technology among the manufacturing sector in India affects the most of some of the performance and thing, and to increase the knowledge, and as there's lack in knowledge and as a lack in knowledge and interest on our paper will be good to for them to have a better knowledge and finding of current study are highly focused in one specific geometrical location. As I told, it's in Coimbatore, but it can be applied to any other similar conditions of industry which will be in all over the places. And but our finding may be generalized in similar situation as all other places. These are the few references which we have taken for the literature part of the review. Thank you.
Okay, we will now proceed further with the next presentation. The next presentation is on statistic review of Indian automobile industry using correlation and linear regression techniques. And the presentation would be by Dr. Shailendra Kumar Srivastav. I request Dr. Srivastav to kindly share his screen.
For promoting the usage of connecting technologies and having delivery of technologies to the customer. The study aims to assess satisfaction level in the Indian automobile industry. So the literature review includes following. First one is Mr. Austral and Alter in 2014 in their paper they have stated that it's context adaptive, available anywhere, easy to use, and connect with people. The growth in usage of digital technologies, customers have become more precise about the delivery requirement, focus more on ease of use and usefulness of the systems. Working on the principle usability and user centricity, each company needs to deliver products to customers. The use centricity principle of service delivery states that the product should be used for delivery of the services, but instead it is about adjusting the entire working mechanism as per the change in customers' demand. The digitalization of the process helps in building the customer relations by providing the omni-channel customer interaction facility entire working mechanism. Further, Patel in 2019 stated that satisfaction of a customer is mainly based on their experience. Okay, so decision of delivering services to customer is based on companies' need to earn their trust and build confidence. As citizens now demand far more transparent, responsive, and accessible services, this evolution in the demand patterns has brought about a change in the models adopted by such businesses. The transformation in this process starts with initially understanding the needs, demands, and priorities of the customers. Now, let us move further and understand connected technology. It basically enables the function of having automatic management of the things as per the preferences of the customers by usage of internet as a medium. Patel in 2016 in their paper stated that usage of these technologies tend to provide the facilities of interconnectivity with the global information, consistency, and privacy protection services. Homogeneity in the services delivery process, adoption to dynamism, and increase in the connectivity of the people. The technology-based revolution do have integral role in the development of the company and having attraction of the customers. Considering this aspect throughout the world, industries focuses on installing latest technologies, and recently the trend is to integrate connected technology. Customer satisfaction level, thus riding in 2010 analyzed that the impact of installing new technologies on customer satisfaction. So this is the research methodology, and you can see that we have used structural equation modeling analysis, and then there were two hypotheses that were taken, HO and HA. So this is the demographic profile of respondent presented in the figure below, and we had a sample size of 126, individuals. And so these are the final part diagram, and these are the index value of model validity, and this is the regression result of the model. And factors code of structural information modeling analysis correlation. Further, the conclusion. So the global technologies development has changed the medium of connecting people across the world. And the world is progressing in all spheres of life, and its development, be it technological, social, or economical development. From the traditional means of connection, that is newspaper or email, that the world has moved towards more advanced and automated technologies like mobile chats or voice control chat medium. So with the advancement in the technological status of the country, the perspectives of the people are also changing. The expectations of a consumer from the necessities of an individual and even the quality of services required with the customers have evolved over a period of time. So the premium automobile customers are mainly millennials of high income group who holds post-graduation degree and are working. In fact, in the rural. The study is mainly shifted towards the respondents with high income. Thus, further studies could be done to assess the impact of usage of connected technologies on the satisfaction level of middle income people and examining the relevance of the connected technologies in other customer base industries. So one of the limitation of this study is that the number of respondents considered for analysis was quite less due to response from the premium automobile customers across Delhi and NCR. Thus, further study could be done to by considering response by considering response providing. That was the last slide.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Srivastav. If panelists they have any questions, otherwise we will proceed further. Thank you so much, Dr. Srivastav. Now, next we have with us, before we proceed forward for another presentation, I am profusely overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce Professor Bhavna Kumar, Vice President RBEF, Amity Education Group, Amity University. She is an educationist, researcher, trainer, innovator, and a management consultant, and she has specialized in engineering and management and have a work experience of over 25 years covering areas of project execution, project management,
That's
behavioral sciences, and many more. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us here.
I'm enjoying listening to all the researchers, and my special compliments to everybody who is actually pursuing such good quality research. I personally think that research is a very fundamental source of bringing betterment in the society and the economy, and in times like these, technologies is actually what makes the difference. So please continue doing inspiring work. Everybody who is presenting today is obviously going to be a winner in their own rights, and all of you are belonging to a community where, in any case, you're doing a very noble job of also teaching, addressing students, or mentoring. So please keep it up. My pleasure to be here. Continue, Ruchira.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and blessing all of us. Next, we will move with the next presentation, and that is on diagnosing the Parkinson's disease in early stages using image enhancement, ROI extraction, and deep learning algorithms. And the presentation would be by Miss Sona Kapoor. Miss Kapoor, I would request you to kindly share your screen.
Good morning, all. My name is Sona Kapoor, and the topic of our research paper is diagnosing Parkinson's disease in its early stages using image enhancement, ROI extraction, and deep learning algorithms. And this research paper is co-authored by Manan Gulati and Anupama Bhan. The Parkinson's disease is the second most common degenerative disease, which is caused by the loss of dopamine producing neurons. And MRI is able to capture the structural changes in the brain due to this deficiency in Parkinson's disease subjects. The early diagnosis of such diseases using computer-aided systems is of great importance and extensive research among researchers. It is very difficult to classify the Parkinson's disease affected MRI scans from healthy and control images. Therefore, with the use of deep learning, we wish to adapt CNN networks to develop trained predictive models which will efficiently classify between PD and controlled images. The methodology is first acquiring the MRI dataset of PD and control subjects, performing image enhancement, then extracting the region of interest using CNN models, then classifying PD subjects from control subjects and obtaining the final result. So the data set was acquired from the Parkinson's Progression Markers Initiative, which is PPMI, and the data size was 30 PD patients and 24 elderly normal control subjects with the age range of 60 to 75 years, in which 6,132 images were under PD subjects and 4,416 images were under healthy control subjects. The image type was Stephen weighted, and the format we obtained the images was in Nifty format. The images present in the dataset were of varying brightness, color, and noise. And to remove these unwanted elements from our training and testing images, we had to apply image filtering operations and histogram equalization for contrast enhancement for better identifiable features. The image enhancement pipeline consisted of converting the RGB image to YUV color space for accurate colors and features, and then luminance channel was filtered using Gaussian blur to reduce the noise and pixelation. Then contrast limited adaptive histogram equalization was applied on the Y channel to improve the local image contrast while keeping the noise low. Finally, the three channels Y, U, and V were merged and converted into RGB color space for further processing. The ROI extraction stage. The most influencing region of the brain is the detection of the Parkinson's, is the substantia nigra or the SN region. We localize the SN region to classify between PD and control subjects. To improve the accuracy of the localization, we separate the images containing the SN region, and then we use a custom CNN model and VGG16 model for automatically differentiating substantia nigra in an image and no substantia nigra in an image. The picture on the left depicts the SN region in the midbrain of a healthy subject, whereas the picture on the right depicts the SN region in the midbrain of a Parkinson's disease subject. ROI extraction using custom model. We used a custom model for automatically differentiating SN in an image and no SN in an image. The model consisted of 6 convolution layers, each followed by a max pooling layer, a flattening layer, and 3 fully connected layers. We made use of the Adam optimizer and ReLU activation function. The training accuracy we attained was 99.5% and the test accuracy was 99.7%, and the loss acquired was 0.03%. ROI extraction using VGG16 model. Then we used a VGG16 model for automatically differentiating SN in an image and no SN in an image. And the training accuracy we attained was 98.17% and the test accuracy was 96.95%. And the loss attained by us was 0.032%. After the ROI extraction, we had to classify between PD subjects and healthy control subjects. And the classification of substantia nigra region as belonging to a Parkinson subject or a healthy subject was done by using a modified version of AlexNet with activation at the last fully connected layer having a sigmoid activation function for the two classes and 6 convolution layers to improve the features vectors as compared to manually selected vectors that are prone to changes in orientation and intensity. The training accuracy we attained in this improved AlexNet model was 99.8%, and the test accuracy was 98.88%. The loss attained by us was 0.03%. Then we classified between PD and control subjects using VGG19 model, and the training accuracy attained was 98.44%, and the test accuracy was 98.17%. The loss attained was 0.041%. The classification using ResNet 50 model, the training accuracy was 99.8% and the test accuracy was 98.91%. The loss attained was 0.02% and below are the plots. The last model we used was ResNet 34 model and the training accuracy for which was 99.4% and the test accuracy was 97.85%. This is the comparison of the implemented models for the classification. And the best performance was shown by the ResNet 50 model with a 99.81% training accuracy as 99.91% testing accuracy. So in our work, the PD was diagnosed successfully with the highest validation accuracy of 98.91% using the ResNet 50 model. And due to this work, a future scope can be open to analyze any other medical data for and feature extraction and classification can be performed by researchers or physicians for predicting any new data. These are some of the references that I refer to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kapoor. I now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation would be on analysis of physical changes due to bacterial remediation in the Lika LWA concrete, and the presentation would be by Mr. Prakhar Duggal. I request you to kindly share your screen. I'm profusely overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce our chief guest of the day. He is none other than Professor Dr. Gurinder Singh sir. He is the Group Vice Chancellor, Amity Universities, Director General, Amity Group of Institutions, and Vice Chairman, Global Foundation for Learning Excellence, and Director General, Amity International Business School. He has an extensive experience of more than 26 years in the institutional building, teaching, consultancy, and research and industry. He is a renowned scholar and academician in the area of international business. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here today. Now, I request Mr. Watts to kindly start sharing your screen.
My topic was analysis of physical changes due to bacterial remediation on Leica LW aggregate. LW here stands for lightweight aggregate. So now me and my first brief introduction about my topic. Self-filling concrete or microbial concrete, which has itself when it encounters air and water, it produces slime on the outer layer of the concrete. The microbial concrete works on the principle of calcitrate mineral precipitation by a specific group of alkali-resistant spore-forming bacteria, which is related to the genus Bacillus family, and the bacteria which we have used is Bacillus sphaericus. The phenomenon is called biomineralization or microbiologically induced calciate crystal precipitation (MICP). Now the applications of my topic or my research is most Bacillus bacteria have a positive effect on the compressive strength of concrete and on bending strength compared to the conventional samples. The Bacillus sphaericus species show the reduction in water absorption. Now with the use of LW aggregate, the dead load of the total structure was reduced. The lightweight aggregate concrete showed better workability than conventional concrete samples of the same grade. Methodology adopted was data collection of latest techniques, identification of improvement areas, point of change for improvement, application and compatibility with concrete, overall changes, effect scenes, and experimentation and result calculation. Experimental procedure to make the bacteria and induced and encapsulate in the concrete blocks which we are building. So first we sprayed the bacterial strain and water mix into aggregate dryer and left it for 24 hours. So we soaked the treated leca in nutrient growth for half an hour. Upon completion of soaking, draining the LWA and place them in a 39°C oven for 4 days. We repeated this step for 1 and 2 times so that the growth and the growth can be induced in the cube very nicely, and immerse the LWA containing calcitrate and LML extract in spore solution for half hour. So by taking these measures, we encapsulated our bacteria in our cubes. Now the results achieved were self-healing with partial submersion in water scalable to a large scale, appreciable water penetration resistance, repeated healing under specific condition, appreciable compressive strength achieved even after shifting from standard aggregate to Leica lightweight aggregate. Conclusions drawn were absorption of moisture into Leica aggregate. Concrete specimen was comparatively less than with bacteria. Simultaneous exposure to the bacteria with water medium. This could be due to formation of CaCO3 in the pores of LWA, which stops the water to integrate, hence reducing the overall water content in concrete, producing stiffer mixes with low water permeability. The use of surface treatment along with the bacteria in water medium was also shown increased to compressive strength by 35% and reached maximum strength faster than the samples only in underwater exposure. The slump of lightweight aggregate was seen to be higher up to 10% than the standard mix, implying the higher workability of the mix. The depth of the moisture penetration in lightweight aggregate concrete specimen with bacteria surface was seen up to 27% lower than the standard concrete samples without the bacteria. Using calcitrate among the LML extract in the curing of LW increased the water absorption rate for samples only water exposure samples where the surface treatment prior to the water exposure showed a low amount of moisture absorption and penetration. The bacteria also reduce the permeability resistance to the concrete. According to the findings shown in our calculation, we also concluded that adding the steps to provide surface treatment prior to underwater exposure, the bacteria leads to a denser microstructure, improving moisture absorption, slump, and comparable increase in compressive strength. So thank you. That was all from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Panelists, if you have any question, otherwise we can move ahead. Okay, thank you, Mr. Watts. Next, we have the presentation on a deep learning based diagnosis of sickle cell anemia in human RBC. And the presentation would be by Mr. Bhim Sen. I request you, Mr. Sen, to kindly start sharing your screen. Please put it on slideshow mode and switch on your camera.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bhim Sen. My project titled on deep learning based diagnosis of sickle cell anemia in human RBC. So the problem description or motivation behind this project is, as we know, sickle cell disease or anemia is a genetic disorder in which red blood cell takes the shape of a sickle. And this change allows them to destroy easily, due to which sickle cell anemic patient suffers from a lack of RBC. If we compare the normal RBC and a sickle cell RBC, then the lifespan of normal RBC is around 120 days. But in sickle cell RBC has a lifespan of around 10 to 20 days. And sickle cell disease affects millions of people around the world, Sub-Saharan Africa, India, Turkey, and South America. And in this project, we provide a solution to classify the different structure of RBC, like circular, elongated, and others using DCNN. So the objective of this project is to classification of red blood cell using deep learning network. And in this project, we use a transfer learning and its pre-trained model VGG, ResNet, and Inception version 3 to diagnose the sickle cell anemia. The dataset used in this project is erythrocytes IDB dataset, which has 196 full-field images and with 626 images of individual cells. The individual cells are classified into three categories: circular, elongated, and others. And these images are taken from Leica microscope. And the dimension of these images are 80 into 80, and these images are RGB image. And the type of image we used here is JPEG. The methodology adopted in this project is data set, and after that we apply the data augmentation techniques. Data augmentation techniques basically, in data augmentation we use modifications like rotating, cropping, zooming. These modifications we use in data augmentation. And after that we design and train the DCNNs with pre-trained models, and finally we compare the accuracy and results between the pre-trained models. So these are the results. In our training data set, we have 499 images, and in our testing data set, we have 127 images. And after implementing these models, VG60 and 19 produced training accuracy of 63 and 66% in case of Epoch 100 and learning rate of 0.001. And with the same learning rate and Epoch, ResNet 50 and ResNet 101 produced training accuracy of 40 and 42.5%. And in Inception version 3, we got the highest accuracy of 91% with the same Epoch and learning rate. So these are the comparison between the training accuracy of models. So in on the left side, this is the comparison between the training accuracy of the models, VGG, ResNet, and Inception version 3. And we got the highest accuracy in case of Inception version 3. And these are the training loss of the models on the right side. This is the comparison between the training loss of the models. So these are the references. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sen. If panelists have any questions. Okay, thank you. We will now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation is on an analysis of a student's readiness and facilitators' perception towards e-learning using machine learning algorithms. And the presentation would be by Professor Sunil Upadhyay.
Okay, madam.
Okay.
So my topic here is analysis of student readiness and facilitation perception towards e-learning using machine learning algorithm. So now related to my abstract, that is basically e-learning is a tool which support teachers, students, and working executive through mobile computers, tablet, etc. The overall purpose is here is that to understand the complete model and using the machine learning, how to predict and how to provide a proper linkage between student side and the teacher side. So the purpose here is to fill the gap between the teacher and the student to different geographical location, and the low cost of hardware and software have basically provided facility to to move this e-learning to the every corner of the world. So this is the technology basically support in 24 by 7 environment, And the purpose of this technology is to identify the student need and also the teacher perception. And if we use machine learning model, because machine, if we say the example of machine learning is basically classified into two types. One is called supervised and another one is called unsupervised learning. So when we say that supervised learning, so there are classification models are there, like there is one algorithm called decision tree algorithm, card algorithm, Cannon algorithm. So by if we will use this algorithm and on given data set, then we can easily develop a prediction model so that we can easily identify the need of the student. And based on the need of the student, then the teacher or the faculty will provide support. So this is overview of this, and the objective of my study is to study the quality of learning and teaching through e-learning, to study the problem faced by the student in the e-learning, and to study the teacher perception about e-learning. And that is the overview of literature review. That is e-learning. That is the nothing. These are the various definition defined by author, like e-learning defined by number of scholar. That it is basically the technology with the help of internet we deliver information instruction to individual. Another definition of e-learning is a facilitated and supported through utilization of information and communication technology. Another definition, use of new multimedia technology in the internet to improve the quality of learning by facilitating access to resource and services, as well as remote action and collaboration. And regarding, if directly jump to our methods or methodology part, we applied several machine learning algorithms as analytical learning approach. So the main part of here is the machine learning, the field of AI, that is artificial intelligence. And machine learning algorithm can automatically find complex pattern from feature extracted from existing data. So in our current, we use a machine learning classifier. That is in my paper, I use this machine learning classifier like decision tree, classification and regression tree, that is card algorithm, a naive bias classification algorithm to build a predictive learning model that will predict student engagement in different courses. Suppose somewhere joined from BTech computer science, someone from MBA, some from BCA. So this model will predict the student engagement in different courses. And these classifiers were selected because they were both numeric and categorical attribute as a input. Now, this is a prediction model. That is a hypothetical prediction model. In that, there's one side there is a student, on the other side the instructor is there. So, a student use this virtual platform, and then using this various data that pass to pre-processing part, where the data is feature extraction is there, label extraction is there, feature selection. Then we use this machine learning model, and then it finally provides support to the instructor, and instructor will provide feedback or provide advice to the student from time to time basis. And last part, that is my conclusion, that is predicting low engagement student is important in e-learning system, because it allows teachers to understand the behavior of the student for different courses or activities. And the future work here is that we will plan to evaluate the total number of students click on each assessment, course design, teaching experience, and teaching style in course, and then use collaborative filtering to recommend material and lecture for low engagement student. So that is a brief presentation on my topic. Thank you from my side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Upadhyay. I would now request the panelists if they have any questions. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam.
We will now proceed further for the next presentation. That would be on a systematic review of big data tool and application for developments. And the presentation would be by Mr. Anil Kumar. I request Mr. Kumar to kindly start sharing his screen.
Very good afternoon to all the dignitaries and present here. My topic is a systematic review of the big data tools and application for development. I am Anil Kumar from Department of Computer Science, University of Delhi. The contents are basically, I want to share with you is big data and its feature, the 5 V's of big data. And in the paper, I worked on this Apache technology, which is open source software. And we work out with the different tools and the frameworks which are available with this open framework. And then we compare some of the techniques, and then we compare this framework of the Hadoop, Spark, and Storm. And finally, we conclude with certain benefits and certain disadvantages, and in which scenario we can use these technology to handle the big data. So to start with, how big the data is. The question is very genuine in the present scenario, and from the Forbes, I get the two fact which says that 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is created each day at our current pace, but the pace is only accelerating. And the 90% of the all data today was generated in the last 2 years. So we can see the magnitude of the data which is processing, and exponentially it is growing. And every minute the user watch 4.15 million YouTube videos, lakhs of tweets, and lakhs of photos on Instagram, and lakhs of comments and status update on the Facebook. So all these are the data that are generated and every second in trillions bytes of. So in layman term, we can see a very generalized definition. Big data refers to a large amount of data which is pouring in from various data sources and as the different formats. There are certain features which are shared by the big data. When we use passively produce, in the sense when we interact with the different devices, we generate also data is automatically collected, like in case of the QR code or other interaction with the suppose we go for the petrol pump and we use the credit card or debit card. So there are certain. Then we have geographical or temporarily trackable data, like your cell phone locations and all the call logs. This can be there. Then certain data which is continuously analyzed, real-time data, like different kind of data. As case by suppose we go through the 5 V's of the big data of data, whether it's your data, your semi data. So all these different kind of data need to be taken care, and then extract the value, the useful data or the useful meaningful value from this huge volume of data. So these 5 V's are very important and are concerned when we talk about the calculation of or the analysis of the data on different tools and the techniques. Now, the tools and technique that we talk about, we have considered different web servers, but since Apache Hadoop is the web server which is growing up very fast, and the market sharing in the last 2 years, it has been tremendously growing, and compared to the Microsoft IIS, that is lagging behind. So we focus on this Apache Hadoop structure, which is basically the two main components. It's an open source software which talk about different software utilities for data handling, for data analysis. The structure of the Hadoop basically are covered into the two part. One is the HDFS architecture, and another is the map reduce technology which it uses for the have different nodes where we have the client server kind of architecture. The name node is basically a client node, and the data nodes are the server node which actually work on the data, and all the metadata is handled by this name node. So there are different kind of clusters, and these clusters handle the incoming data in the Apache Hadoop HDFS structure. Then we have the map reduce, which is basically a programming technique embedded in this Hadoop. And the basic job is to map the input data and then finally reduce it and to come out with a concrete value of the data. So this is a basic structure where we talk about the different racks. We talk about the task trackers. We split the input file into the different parts, and then these parts are mapped accordingly to the task trackers. And task tracker will finally reduce it and come out with the meaningful format and give the output in the DFS structure. So there are different modules or the utilities which are available with the Apache, like Apache Hive, which is used for the data which has the well-defined schema. So the data which has a well-defined schema, we can go for the Hive, and it has the language query, like a structured query language. You have the HQL, which is Hive query language. Then if we go to the another module pig, which is again a very popular in the form that it is useful for large structured and the semi-structured data. And then the Flume is apparently doing very good in these days in the analysis part, because it transport the huge volume of the streaming data from different sources. So this Flume technology can work in the real time, and it can work in the batch mode also. Then we have the Spark, which work for the super lightning big data framework, and it is fast, very fast computational speed compared to other existing techniques available for the data handling. And it handles all type of requirement, whether we need a batch processing or interactive processing or streaming or iteratively. So you can do all kind of things in this Spark module. So when we come across with all these kind of utilities, we compare on certain things, and we find out that the Spark, when we compare Spark with Hadoop, although both are
Mr.
from the,
Kumar, sorry to interrupt you. Kindly conclude yourself.
yeah. So we consider the different parameters based on the latency, based on the real-time processing, and we compare it. And when we compare it, we find out that the Spark is basically for the handling of the data, which is depending on the interactive mode. Then we take another category of the open source, which is Storm. And when we compare it, Hadoop with the Spark and Storm, then we, based on the different parameter like your architecture, processing model, and the latency, as well as the API involved with that, and the fault tolerance of all these models. So we come across with the comparison of these things. Beside this, although in literature we have a lot of big data tools available, which are not very practically implemented right now. So in future course of action, we can come across with these kind of tools like Cassandra, MongoDB, Hive, HBase, and many more, which are still not implementable. So ultimately, we come out with the conclusion that the choice of technology depend on the user requirement and the nature of data. So there is no single winner. So if you want to go for the faster processing, you need Spark. If you want to streaming of data, you can go for Hadoop. And if you want to go for the structured data, then you can go for the Hive. So these are the conclusions that we came around with this Apache Open Software. And finally, these are some of the main references which I have gone through to compare this open source framework for data handling. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kumar. We will now proceed further for
Thank
the
you.
next presentation that is on a blockchain technology, a smart and efficient way for securing IoT communications. And the presentation would be given by Ms. Samika Sani. Ms. Sani, I would request you to kindly share your screen.
Good morning, everyone. My paper topic is Blockchain Technology, a smart and efficient way for securing IoT communication, and paper ID is 366. And I'm assistant professor in CSC department in Devbhoomi Group of Institution, Dehradun. So this is the content that I'm going to cover. Basically, we will start with introduction, that is what is blockchain. So in layman language or in the normal language, we can say that a blockchain is basically a chain of blocks where we are making data in form of blocks, or storing the data in the form of blocks, and we are interconnecting them. So technically speaking, blockchain is a distributed ledger that contains data blocks in an interconnected form of chains that are secured. Basically, this concept was innovated in 2009 when Satoshi Nakamoto gave the term Bitcoin. Basically, it is a cryptocurrency that was implemented by using the technology of blockchain. So as you can see in the figure, it is an architecture of blockchain where the data is stored in the blocks, and the hash is calculated for every block, and that hash value is stored in that particular block, and also the previous value of the block also is stored in the previous block's hash value is also stored in the next block. So basically, why it is secure? Because it is decentralized and it is storing the hashing value. We know the property of hash, that the two messages cannot create a same hash value, and if we change a slightest character or alphabet in a message, the hash value of particular message becomes different. So if you want to hack a block, or you want to change the content in any block, you have to change the hash value also of the all the previous blocks of the chain. So that's why it's basically secure. And why it's decentralized? Because there is no central authority in there who is controlling the block. Basically, the block is controlled and managed by the several person. This is a basic property of the distributed ledger or blockchain. We can say that it is a programmable for smart contract. The blockchain, the technology that we use, the programming language that we use is Solidity. It is distributed, means all the participants have a copy of that ledger of the blockchain. It is immutable, it is secure, like I have told you about the hash property. Because of hash property, anonymous means the identity of the participants are kept anonymous, means they can keep their identity secret, or else they can also tell about themselves. They cannot, if they want, they can keep their identity secret, or else not. Then it is unanimous, means all agrees to the block changing, and then only the block changes. So blockchain mining is basically used to change the block. If someone wants to change the block or change the data in the blockchain, he or she has to participate in the mining process. The basically mining process is they will give you some computation problem. For that you need a very strong processor and very fast processor so that you can compute the computation faster than others, and then you will win, and then you will be able to update the data in the blockchain. So when was the Bitcoin invented, or when the mining invented? It was in 2009, when the value of Bitcoin was 50 Bitcoin, and it goes on reducing every 4 years. So right now, in 2012, it was 25 Bitcoin, 2016 it was 12.5, and in 11th May 2020, it is 6.25 Bitcoins. And some of the consensus algorithm that you can use to know who is the winner of the blockchain, who will be participating in changing the value of the blockchain. So you can use algorithms like proof of work, proof of stake, and there are a lot of algorithms discussed. Next, Ethereum is one of the concept. It is also an open source blockchain based decentralized software platform that is use its own cryptocurrency known as Ether, and it was the name Ethereum was given by Vitalik Buterin, and it helps in building the smart contracts. Basically, smart contracts are the contracts that will execute itself when some certain conditions are met. They eliminate the central authority from the agreement happening between sender and consumer end. So EVM is the Ethereum virtual machine, that is a software platform that allows the execution of code. And Solidity is basically the programming language that we use to create smart contracts that run on the Ethereum platform. So basically, Ethereum is a platform that provides you decentralized and blockchain-based open source software platform. So it's a basic difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin. Bitcoin basically is a cryptocurrency, and Ethereum has its own cryptocurrency called as Ether. And the hashing algorithm is used in Ethereum is ETH-hash, and in Bitcoin we use SHA-256, a very well-known hashing algorithm. Ethereum is basically an open source decentralized platform that is used to create decentralized applications, and Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that was used in 2009. And basically, Ethereum is faster because its block time is in seconds, and in Bitcoin, it's in minutes. Now we come to IoT. We all know that IoT is an emerging trend in today's internet-dependent world. Internet of Things, it is a loosely coupled system, or it's basically work on the ideas of sensing, processing, and having network capabilities power. Basically, the IoT applications are being seen widely in healthcare, smart city, supply chain, energy management, home automations. Besides having many advantages of IoT, we have two basic issues in the IoT, that are privacy and security. Because in IoT, we are connecting multiple devices, smart devices together to form a intelligent workplace or intelligent environment. For that, there are the two basic issues like privacy and security. So blockchain, as we know, that it is basically gaining popularity because of its decentralized nature and its secure nature. So we can combine blockchain and IoT together to form BIoT, that is blockchain IoT. So we can make the IoT applications more secure by the use of blockchain, and various work have been done on this particular topic. These are some application areas of BIoT, like smart homes. Telstra is an Australian telecommunication company that is using making smart devices for smart homes. Basically, in blockchain, you can save the information like facial recognition, voice recognition, biometrics, and etc. BIoT can be used in smart automobiles also. Like it can be used for automatic fuel payments, autonomous automatic traffic control, smart parking for the purpose of smart parking. For stock chain and logistics, the live example is Golden State Food Company that is using BIoT for its distributor and producers of food products. For budget distribution, we have the live example of Stockit that is using BIoT for its devices for the sharing of economy and distribution of budgets. For pharmaceutical industry, we have Mediledger. For agriculture industry, as we know that population is increasing day by day, so providing food to the growing population is a common issue nowadays. So by using a BIoT, data is sensed by IoT sensors on farmers. They can grow the crops based on the humidity, temperature, soil moisture, and light, etc. features. So this is the basically literature review that we have taken a lot of paper and we have sum up some of the paper that were related to BIoT. Like in one of the paper, basically the area or the parameter for every paper was security and privacy, how to increase the security and privacy in the IoT communication network. So the first paper, they were having a smart home environment in IoT, and they have used Raspberry Pi and Ethereum platform. So basically, BIoT is the combination of blockchain and IoT, in which we are using the secure and decentralized feature of blockchain, and we are securing our IoT devices and network. So that's it. These are some of the references that I have used.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sani. Panelists, if they have any questions. Okay, we will now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation would be on survey on face recognition by Ms. Thilagavati. I would request you to please share your screen.
Good morning to everybody. This is Tilakavati and research scholar, and my topic is a survey on the face recognition. Why I am choosing this topic is the facial recognition is a form of the computer vision that uses the faces to attempt to identify the person or verify the person's claimed identity. For face recognition, there are two types of comparison. One is the first is the verification, and the second is the identification. And it's very difficult to identify the person, even if you see her he standing in front of you, because they will put some makeup. The person in the home and the person in the outside home is differ. Okay, they're putting some makeup. It's very difficult to identify the person. So abstract of this one is the face detection recognition. So we are mostly using the supervised learning and the unsupervised learning. Apart from that, the very most algorithm used in the survey paper, the most commonly used is the CNN one. That is the expansion of the CNN is the conventional neural network. And here convolutional neural network, we have the three different layers. It's also known as the deep learning. And here, this is the architecture of the convolutional neural network is the three layers. And so mostly used to identify the edges and the lines, circle, square, hand, and the remaining part of the faces. And this is the architecture of the convolutional neural network. First one is receiving the input, whether it's a video image or the static images. It receives from the user. Finally, it provides a classified whether it's a face is belongs to the person or the face is a face of the animal and everything. And in between, it performs the various operation, convolution, pooling, and convolution. And here the in between the input and the output, we have the different types of the layers out there. That is called as the hidden layer. So totally, yeah, the three different layer input. The final one is the fully connected layer, and in between the convolution pooling. And these convolution and pooling layers are used to compress the images. Even if the size is the very large one, the one image is the very large, the second image is the very small. It's very difficult to identify. So you have to put it in the particular standard size and standard sizes, and we need a suppose whenever you identify the image or the object, we are considering only the few parts of the images, not everything. And here the remaining, so first one is three different layers are available. One is convolutional layer, pooling, fully connected layer. And convolutional layer increase the number of neurons in the hidden layers. And here we are using the stride and padding. Stride and padding used to control the output of the shape of the output of the convolutional layer. And stride and padding are used to control the shape of the output of the convolutional layer. And stride is a filter the multiple position and convert into the number of rows and the columns. It's if you give the images, everything, it cannot able to identify, machine learning cannot able to identify everything in the form of the image. So everything is converted into the numbers. And the formula for the rows conversion, and this is the formula for the column conversion. And padding is used to avoid the or filter out the unwanted, unnecessary information. And pooling layer, sampling, helps to minimize the size of the network by reducing the number of parameters. And spooling is split into the input, conversion, pooling, conversion, and the pooling. Fully connected layer is also known as the dense layer. It connects all the input from one layer to the every activation unit of the next layer. So after collecting all the information, it put it in the final outcome. You will get only the one row. You have to feed the not entire row. So all the information converted into single dimension, that it will be given to the fully connected layer. And this is the review of the paper. And mostly in these reviews, some author examining only, they were taken only the two data set, but they omit the other data set. And other data set. In the second one, we have AT and T data set, and the multiple fails identified by using Har cascade. It works only for the straight faces and not for the all the faces, and but it can identify only the limited number of faces, 50 faces per the images. And adapose algorithm applied to decrease the training time and also improves the deduction. And here also they have taken only one database, and here also they taken AR and LA database, and here they have taken the only the limited database. So according to the entire survey, we can say the CNN, MLP, and CRR, all the combinations are away. In the overall survey, I can tell that it's very the only one in this literature survey. It explains the analysis of face recognition and detection technique, and the existing algorithm works well on one type of the data set and not performing well for the another type of the data set. It is sensitive to the strong lighting condition. The main limitation of the existing work is the restriction of the data set and is changing to strong lighting condition. To achieve the accuracy, the training data sets needs to construct with a multiple sample per person. The sample will create to specific pose, and with the specific facial angles, the number of sample per person will be correlated with the matching accuracy. And we can say that not all the data set can be gives with the help of the all the combination give the proper result. For each and every algorithm, for each and every data set, the accuracy of the output will be varied. Thank you, girl. Thank you, sorry, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tilagavati. Panelists, if they have any questions, I would now proceed further. But before moving ahead, I would like to welcome our VP Personal and Registrar, Mr. Anil Kumar Chaudhary, sir, who has joined us in this session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining here. Next, we have the presentation on supervised sentiment analysis on Amazon product reviews, a survey. The presentation would be by Mr. Munir Yaha Ali. Mr. Ali, I would request you to kindly start sharing your screen.
Okay. This is Munir Yahya Ali Salmoni, a research scholar in Aligarh Muslim University. I am here today to present supervised sentiment analysis on Amazon product review. Here the main outlines of the presentation, that is introduction, sentiment analysis levels, sentiment analysis approaches, objective of the study, sentiment analysis on a product review, literature review, and result and discussion, conclusion and future work, and references. Here in the modern times, we can see that social media and around the world and help them express their feeling and opinion about any topic on the globe. Amazon is an example. It is considered an excellent user supplied reviews. Amazon makes use of universal rating system. Users who post and share their opinion. Fastest growing research area of natural language processing, which intends to study people's feeling about anything on the globe, on the social media. It is utilized to study and analyze this data and gain valuable insight by tagging this text into positive, negative, or neutral, which assess the organization and customer decision making. It has 3 levels, that is document level, sentence level, and aspect level. there are three approaches of sentiment analysis, which are machine learning based approach, lexicon based approaches, and hybrid based approaches. The objective of this study is to present the typical workflow often adopted by the researchers when conducting sentiment analysis. The second one is to survey and investigate traditional supervised machine learning techniques with several features. The third one is to find the best method that provides a reliable result of sentiment analysis, which can be then used as a baseline for Amazon review classifications. Here, the following figure presents the typical workflow of the sentiment analysis when conducting on Amazon product review. It comprises of two phases, that is phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is the scraping. Fortunately, that most famous sites like Twitter, Amazon offer API that facilitates the access to unique item of information. As an alternative, request and beautiful soup Python libraries help in crawling and extracting all the data displayed on the product page. In the second phase, that is sentiment classification, it comprises of 5 steps as shown. That the first one is that data collection, which we can use the scrap data from the previous phase, or some researchers prefer to use benchmark label datasets. In the second step, it is the data preparation, which comes to reducing the noise and removing the data that are irrelevant. In feature extraction, we reformat the original features using bag of words, term frequency, inverse sequence frequency, n-grams, part of speech. And the fourth step is sentiment classification, which we can apply various supervised classification methods to determine the polarity of the review. And the last one is the result evaluation, which intends to evaluate the performance of machine learning techniques, which is the final output is analyzed to decide whether it should be considered. Like some literature review, which we conducted on 15 maybe papers. Here some of them, which conducted based on some parameters like data sets, techniques, features, and accuracy. In the result and discussion, we use that literature review, the most important papers, and we compare them. Here we can see in figure 4 that we compared the widely used supervised machine learning techniques, that is naive-Bayes and support vector machine, which shown that the superiority of support vector machine over naive-Bayes. And we can see that both perform very poorly when using part of speech as a weighted scores as features. In figure number 5, we compare super vector machine and support vector machine and naive-Bayes and random forest, and we can show that random forest worked better than the others. And also we can see that random forest works well on continuous bag of words in paper 25, and it comes to 19.6. In figure number 6 here, we compared the result of support vector machine and logistic regression in 3 papers, and we can see that they performed equally the same. In figure 7, the accuracy of naive-Bayes and logistic regression are compared, and we can see that using a combination of trigrams, bag of words, or TF-IDF feature, and it doesn't come across 80%. And also, logistic regression work well with continuous bag of words. The main findings here that traditional supervised machine learning models perform well, especially in support vector machine, naive-Bayes, and random forest, and logistic regression. But it needs labeled data, which is not always possible and often time consuming. And it is remain strong candidates, but with accessible accuracy for some data sets. The size of data sets is different. Research often scrap Amazon review and use star scoring corresponding to each review as labels. The collected data can be imbalanced, which should be processed to be balanced, or use benchmark data sets, or use a good evaluation metric. The inherent class imbalance problem causes machine algorithms to achieve better in classifying positive
Thank you, Mr. Munir. I would request the panelists if they have any questions. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Munir. We will now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation would be on the dynamic stability analysis of SMIB system with PSS, LQR, and ROOC by Ms. Himaja. I would request you, Ms. Himaja, to kindly start sharing your screen.
Analysis of single mission infinite bus system with PSS, LQR, and ROOC. So, in general, stability problems are associated with voltage collapse and undamped oscillations are currently the leading causes of major blackouts. Here, disturbances are two types, small disturbances and large disturbances. In electrical power systems, small disturbances are leads to low frequency oscillations are present. So these are due to insufficient damping in synchronous generators. So again, these oscillations are two types, local mode oscillations and inter-area mode oscillations. For simple systems, means unique systems, only local oscillations are present. And for multi-machine systems, inter-area modes are present. So here, so to damp these oscillations, using different controllers are using. Once these oscillations are present, the system becomes unstable and leading causes of major blackouts in power systems. So PSAs and FACTS controllers are more relevant to damp these type of oscillations, but some problems are present for large disturbances. These FACTS controllers and stabilizers are not suitable. So to overcome these, LQR and ROOC controllers are using. So these two controllers are based on the state feedback devices controllers. LQR means linear quadratic regulator and ROOC means reduced order observer based optimal controller. So these two are proposed to enhance the dynamic stability in the test system. So for small disturbances are to our name as a dynamic stability. For large disturbances means voltage like that. So voltage stability. So my topic is on small disturbances. So just I configured on the Unix system. One simple system considered means single mission infinite bus system. So for single mission means here one generator connected to infinite bus. So this through a transmission line having a small resistance RE and reactance XE. The total reactance considered as 0.9450. All the things are preserved in PU, means per unit. So here some of the standard equations are present. The generator power Vg V infinity by X total sine delta. Next, speed and angle for rotor. So P delta omega or P delta So here use all the things. A generator model is designed through Heffron-Phillips model considered. So total 6 constants are present in this machine for generator, unique generator. These all are solved through Heffron-Phillips model. So here these are the different equations K1, K2, K3 in terms of generator parameters V infinity, XD, XD prime like that. So up to K1, K2, K3, K4, K5 and K6. So here solve all the equations using MATLAB. So I got these values K1, K2, K3, K4, K5 and K6 using the above equations. And all the data, all the machine data, generator data and infinite bus data, all the taken from the standard IEEE bus system from Chakrabarti. So in general for small disturbance here, so using PSS and different controllers, PSS is to provide extra damping to machine exciter. The dynamic instability is present due to lack of insufficient damping. Now this damping is provided using PSS and FACTS controllers. So PSS is one of the stabilizer, one of the PI controller, conventional controller, not the optimal controller. So different blocks are present. So the input is the delta omega speed and output is the field voltage, exciter voltage. So this is the black diagram of PSS damping controller. I solved all the equations using state space model and solved using MATLAB. So here the transfer function. So to represent all the things in state space model for small disturbances using delta, delta, delta. So here totally 4 equations are present for generator. Now after inclusion of PSS, 2 terms are present. So for PSS also include all the equations in Heffron-Phillips model. For PSS also, PSS means power system stabilizer, means to provide corresponding voltage in terms of damping torque. So these are the standard equations delta, delta, delta omega m, delta EFT, delta Vs. These are also represented in Heffron-Phillips model. Next one of the controller is LQR optimal controller. So to provide standard feedback gains using LQR controller, once provide the state feedback means to get the optimal result. Here optimal controller means optimal gains. Solve all the equations. So here this is the algorithm for LQR optimal controller. State space, Q and R, positive definite matrices and definite matrices. Next Riccati equations. From Riccati equations solve the optimal gains. With optimal gains, the system time damping, peak overshoot, oscillations are minimized because once feedback provided means I will get the proper design, proper result. So this is the end. So some of the drawbacks in LQR optimal controller. So here this is based on the trial and error method. Trial and error method select all the values. It is a time consuming process. So use the next one is the ROOC, robust order optimized controller, observer based. Here observe the states. Total in this synchronous machine, 4 states with PSS, total 6 states are present. Now observe all the states with ROOC, robust order observer based optimal controller. Now observe the system matrices, delta and omega, and solve all the things with state space model. So solve the matrix Riccati equations for P and K naught, positive definite matrices and optimal gains. Next now results. Analyzing part completed. Next results. ABCD matrices means state space X dash is equal to AX plus BU and Y is equal to CX plus DU. All the things, all the Heffron-Phillips model solved through MATLAB software. So here system matrix for single mission infinite bus system, A, S, Y, S, B, C, and D without controller, without PSS, without LQR, and without ROOC solved the equations. Now, the response of the system, the dynamic stability is concluded through eigenvalue analysis. So without control, damping ratio, and frequency. So total 4 eigenvalues are present for 4 states. So here the damping is very, very poor for minus 0.0330 plus 7.7617 I in the table. That eigenvalue having the damping ratio of 0.0039, it is very less. Due to these oscillations are present. So to enhance the dynamic stability for these modes using PSS, LQR, and ROOC. Next, in electrical engineering, we have to represent the system through transfer function. So in transfer function, from this transfer function using root locus analysis or different things or different techniques, identify the location of poles. So, okay, next, this is also eigenvalues of the system with ROOC, and so time response analysis is settling time. So here dynamic stability is enhancement through ROOC, LQR, PSS, and without controller. All the eigenvalues are present on the left side. So here the dynamic stability is enhanced more with ROOC compared to LQR, PSS, and without control. So the future research work also would be developing on the TCSC also. I have to add. Then the stability is more enhanced with TCSC, and these are the different references. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hamaja. Panelists, if you have any questions, otherwise we will proceed further. I'm profusely overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce our very own chief guest of the day. He is none other than Professor Dr. Gurinder Singh Sir, Group Vice Chancellor, Amity Universities, Director General, Amity Group of Institutions, and Vice Chairman, Global Foundation for Learning Excellence, and Director General, Amity International Business School. He has an extensive experience for more than 26 years in institutional building, teaching, consultancy, research, and industry. Sir, we welcome you here, and we would request you to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Ruchika. Great to see everyone here, and my special compliments to all those who are participating. Great work by all the researchers. My special compliments to Dr. Naina Chaudhary and Dr. Prateek, who have been working day and night for this conference. But I also want to put on record the appreciation for Santosh ji. Santosh, are you there? You can come on camera. You did a great work. I think that you were behind all the copyrights and was doing a lot of editing. And also, I want to appreciate the entire team, which consisted of Vikramji, Shubhi, Vinay, Dr. Swati, Dr. Sulekha, Pratiman, Shruti, my own office, who besides working on number of projects was working day and night on organizing this event. And my message to all of you is that, and especially to the young researchers, that it's very, very important that when you are very young, you should go networking with some of the top people in the world. An IEEE conference, which we are organizing for the third time in London, this time it's happening virtually, is an excellent platform because it will connect you with people. And once you get connected, it will help you in later publishing your good research. It will also help you in strengthening your biodata. It will help you in taking out you to and reaching out to the places which will be able to offer you great jobs. Last week, I was in a conference where the topic was Ivy League or something else, or question mark, right? What gives you a career? And some of the top professors and people from the industry, they were talking. And I think unanimously everyone said that though education and degrees are very, very important, but much more than degrees are your networking skills. And I think that conferences like this, they give you a very good opportunity to interact and to network with people. And I'm sure that you will gain insights into many important things which are being discussed here. So please be in touch. We look forward to welcome you physically next year in London. But good work. Thank you, Dr. Ruchika. It was
Thank
good
you.
to see you. I can
Thank you,
also
sir.
see our Vice President, Mr. Chaudhary, right? And both the deans, Brigadier Dhani and Jassiji, great work they have done. And Dr. Naina, you are unparalleled leader. I often say that the kind of dedication with which you have worked, I think no one can work. For the participants, let me inform you that Dr. Naina lost her husband last week. But it is because of her unparalleled dedication that she said that no, I will like to still hold this conference. So thank you so very much, Dr. Naina. And I think that professionals like you, they make a lot of difference. My appreciation for Professor Bhavna Kumar and for the entire Group Vice Chancellor's office and entire research team, uh, and also to Ms. Chavi and Kanesh, Dr. Manoj, Hardeep, Gaurav, Marut, who were as master of ceremonies and as great architect of this conference. We're working very closely with Dr. Naina, Dr. Prateek, and all others. Once again, my compliments to all researchers, all students. I may have missed one or two names, but you know that I like each one of you. And special compliments to researchers from across the globe. I was going through the list of 416 research papers which were submitted. Each one of you have contributed brilliantly. So my compliments to each one of you. So keep on coming. We are trying that along with the IEEE Explorer Reservoir, we should also try to publish a few selected ones in some of the top journals and publications, and we will keep you informed. But on behalf of everyone at MIT, on behalf of our founder, on behalf of our chancellor, on behalf of all 11 vice chancellors of all MIT universities, and very senior people, we want to once again compliment each one of you. Keep coming. MIT is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We thank you from the bottom of our heart, and I express my heartfelt gratitude for you to being present here today and bless us. Thank you so much. Now we will proceed further with the next presentation that is on parametric binary tree labeling based RDHEI technique by Mr. Neeraj Kumar.
So good morning, good afternoon, sir. Uh, my current topic is regarding parametric binary tree labeling as RDHI techniques. In the presentation, I will include these topics. What is the objective of the current research work? Introduction to steganography techniques, introduction to RDHEI techniques, proposed techniques and results, and then finally conclusion. So my in the proposed paper, the objective was to improve the embedding capacity while having the marked encryption quality. In the current research work, features are I utilize the parametric binary tree labeling scheme, which is a novel technique and recently introduced by some of the well-known researchers in this field. Then the current topic, the current research work is two-layer embedding strategy. I utilize the cogent predictor and non-cogent predictor for the embedding strategy. The steganography techniques. It is a technique to hide secret data within a trivial media such as image, audio, video, and then that image, that media is transmitted from transmitter to receiver. So in the steganography techniques, there are two sub techniques: reversible data hiding technique or irreversible data hiding technique. In the reversible data ID technique, both the cover image, both the media and the secret data can be recovered successfully. While in the irreversible data ID technique, the cover media cannot be recovered as it is, while secret data can be recovered. So as the reversible data ID technique is more prominent because we get both the secret data and core media as it is, I propose my technique on the RDHI technique. In the RDHI, the AI techniques, the image the taken is the encrypted image, because if the image is non-encrypted, any can know the what is the content of the image. To hide from the secrecy, for the secrecy purpose, the image is encrypted. Now the question comes, how the hide secret data hide in the encrypted image. There are three techniques prominently in this in this application, which are vacating VRA technique, VRBE technique, and RRBE technique. RRBE technique is more prominent because it has high embedding rate than other techniques. So ultimately, in my current research work, I utilize RDHI technique with RRBE application. So this is a general framework of the encryption technique, where the encryption image comes from one end and the secret data comes from another end, and finally it is embedded in general. Then at the receiver end, both the encrypted data and the secret data independently extracted based on their encryption key. So for the encryption image, there is an encryption key, or for the secret data, there is a secret key. The importance is here that both the data are independently extracted. So this is the novelty here. So for the current research work, I utilize the parametric binary tree labeling scheme, which is recently introduced by some of the papers. In this technique, the initially binary tree is formulated, and that the nodes of the tree are bifurcated in two sections. One section is related to non-embedding, and another section, which is high, is implemented in the embedding sections.
Mr. Kumar, I would request you to kindly conclude. We are running short of time.
Yeah, just give me 2 minutes. And then I utilize the chessboard technique for the hiding of the image. In the chessboard pattern, one technique is on the one layer non-causal predictor is utilized. In another layer causal predictor is utilized. This is there in the slide. Then imagine encrypted. Further, after the encrypted image, encrypted image section into embeddable, non-embeddable, and then binary tree is utilized. Now I'm coming to the result sections. In the result section, coming with the embedding capacity and encryption performance. To show the encryption performance, I utilize these test images, and these are the results for the encryption performance. You can see there is a very good result provided in the encryption technique, encryption side. Then this is the data adding capacity in the where is the you can see the proposed technique is a high embedding capacity than other techniques. So this is all about the current research work, and I have successfully achieved the embedding capacity and encryption performance improvement with the proposed research work. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I request the panelists if they have any questions. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. We will now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation is on the topic Secure Framework for Cloud-Based E-Education Using Deep Neural Networks by Ms. K. Devi Priya. Ms. Devi Priya, I would request you to kindly start sharing your screen.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. So, good afternoon, respected panel members and coordinator, Ruchika, madam. And I am Devi Priya from Aditya Engineering College. So, my paper is to provide the secure authentication to the cloud-based e-education using deep neural networks. So, current days, the cloud services have more priority. For the implementation part, and as well as with the less cost, any user can access the services from the cloud with a minimal cost. So adoption of cloud services in the various sectors like healthcare sector, banking sector, and militaries. So all these are currently very popular, and nowadays everyone, due to the pandemic also, everyone using for the education purpose, everyone adapting the cloud services to deliver the online teaching learning methodologies. So for that, how to provide a secure to implement the the complete flow of e-education. So how can we provide the secure framework? So we have focused, that is the main problem statement of my paper. So here we are for the e-education, we are providing the multi-factor authentication of the users who are there are so many stakeholders of the education will be there, faculty and trainees, placements and students and examination users. So how can we authenticate each and every user based on their priority? So multi-factor authentication of the various users, and a lot of documents will be have different priorities of security. So based on the documents, the classification of where these documents are stored, so is it on the same place or different places based on their confidentiality, integrity and availability levels. So there is a classification of data storage area. And very important part, how can we assess the student? Assessments of the students will be performed by the internal and as well as external. How those papers will be generated, how the question papers will be generated and maintained in the cloud. If it is local, there is no problem. If it is the cloud, how the question papers will be maintained. So that part will be as a contribution of this work, secure question paper generation. So the general authentication methods like OTP and password based authentication, security based authentication will be used for the normal users, and especially for the related of the examination section who are interacting with the, who are generating the question papers, who are maintaining the confidentiality documents. So for those type of users, biometric face authentication using the deep neural network, that is VGGF, visual geometric group face authentication methodology I have adapted here. So multi-factor authentication for the examination users. So whenever the client wants to store the data, so this is actually the framework. The client will upload the data into the cloud. The cloud, so before storing the data into the cloud areas, there are 3 areas will be there: restricted access, only minimal number of users will access this cloud, and so all the type of users, any user who belongs to the institutions, that they will access the public access cloud. Only an administrators and examination related users will access the restricted and private access cloud. So before storing the data into the cloud, the index of those information will be encrypted. Even the index also not available in the plain text format. The index will be in the format of encrypted, and based on that only, whenever in the future if the user wants to access, based on the index only, he will be fetches from the particular cloud. So how this is the classification. So this is actually a question paper generation. Before the question paper, there will be a certain encryptions will be performed. So the question paper is not directly stored in the cloud, it will be stored in the encryption format. The verification is also there. So what is the main motivation, main experimental setup is we have adapted them VGG2F algorithm for the authentication. For the security question paper generation, RSA asymmetric key cipher is used with a size of keys 2048 bits, and the documents which are stored in the different areas adapted the different types of encryption algorithms. Those are blowfish and as well as AES algorithm. Instead of using same type of algorithms and same type of authentication, the framework supports the different types of methodologies, different types of authentication methodologies, and as well as encryption algorithms to improve the security and as well as to improve the performance. So the adoption of deep neural networks, which gives the accuracy, more accurate features will be extracted without the user interaction. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, panel members.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
We
ma'am.
will now proceed forward. We can start with the next presentation. The next presentation is on the impact of Internet of Things, that is IoT, on individual privacy in smart home systems, a review. And the presentation would be given by Mr. Fadimatu Muhammad Marafa. Mr. Muhammad, I would request you to kindly start sharing your screen.
All right. A very good morning to you all. My name is Fatima Muhammad Marafa, and I'll be presenting on the paper titled "A Review on Impact of Internet of Things on Individual Privacy in Smart Home." So this is the general overview of our paper considering now that IoT is an evolving communication pattern that predicts a near future where our daily objects are fitted through microcontrollers, transceivers for communicating electronically. So the, what do you call it, basic concepts of IoT is considered as smart home. So our paper look specifically into issues relating to smart homes connectivity. So we have various issues relating to smart homes. Basically, smart homes have various advantages where it allows you to control your homes wherever you are remotely. But besides this advantage, it also have so many disadvantages. Before we look at the issues that we point out, we will talk about the enabling technologies of IoTs, where we have cloud computing, communications, sensing, web intelligence, and much more. So what are the security issues relating to a smart home? We have authenticity, we have integrity, we have confidentiality. For IoT to come into the real world, there is need for, there are some challenges that it possesses, which includes the authenticity, integrity, and confidentiality. Where is this issues coming up is this.
I will now proceed with the next presentation. The next presentation is on sustainable building design and energy analysis of a residential building using Autodesk Revit. And the presentation would be given by Mr. Paritosh Rawat. Mr. Rawat, please start sharing your screen.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible? Firstly, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Gurinder Singh for his motivating words. And I would love to thank the organizing committee and the panelists for giving me the opportunity to present my paper. So my paper is on the topic sustainable building design, energy analysis of a residential building using Autodesk Revit. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the factor sustainability. What exactly is sustainability? So sustainability, the United Nations define it as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the future of the coming generations, and while meeting the own needs right now. So our main focus was to make sure that during the building construction of a residential building, the sustainability factor is kept intact. We also kept in mind the sustainable development goals, the 17 sustainable development goals, which are defined by the United Nations, which we aim to achieve by 2030. We kept them in mind. And also, like, these are the 17 sustainable development goals, as you all know. We all know that the infrastructure industry, the construction industry, they play a major role, and they give out a lot of pollutants. They also are a major contributor to the degrading condition of the environment. So that's why there is a dire need for infrastructure development in order to achieve these sustainable development goals. So as you can see, these are the sustainable development goals which we can achieve by actually implementing proper infrastructure techniques and also proper construction activities. So our main goal was to use the software, the building information modeling tools which are present in the world, mainly Autodesk, which is there. So we used Autodesk Revit, which is a building information modeling software. So what our aim was to optimize the energy of the building during the planning phase. So what we did was we put in the we input all the required specifications, the qualities which were there of the building, and then we created a model before actually construction. So that was the proposed plan, that we analyze the building first, we take in all the factors, then we put them, then we input them inside the software, and then we were able to get a plan beforehand that would be much more sustainable and much more efficient in terms of energy. So these were the parameters which were considered: the building orientation, the window wall ratio of the walls, the window shade of the walls, roof construction, etc., etc. So this was the plan of the house and the observation which was developed using Autodesk. The number of bedrooms, as you can see, the specifications are there. This was the sectional view of the building which was studied. Now, this was the 3D model of the building that was prepared, and the energy analytical model that was prepared using Autodesk. Now, this is one of our key findings that was done. So initially the cost of the building was $18.5 per per square meter per year. So this was the cost which was required by the energy components to run during before actually considering the parameters suggested by Autodesk, which after using Autodesk Insight got reduced to $14.2. Now also one of the main findings was the difference in the energy use intensity after using the suggested techniques in Autodesk. The suggested, like, these are some of the parameters which I have shared. The R13 and R10 metal, the R38 wood, and the mentioned parameters which are given, they were suggested to reduce the energy, the EUI and the energy cost. Now, after implementing the design criteria, the EUI, the energy use intensity, it actually got reduced from 301 kilowatt hour meter square per year to 195 kilowatt hour meter square per year. So that is when we noticed that there was a huge difference in the energy requirement of the building after using the building information modeling tools. So the why was the work necessary was because we are living in a society where the pollution is growing at a constant rate. The buildings which are existing right now, they do not follow the principles, the codes given by the green buildings societies and the committees all over the world. So that's why we wanted to present a model. We wanted to create awareness about such technologies which can help us achieve these sustainable development goals. So that is it from my side, and thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I
Thank you,
adhere to the
Mr.
time limit.
Thank you, Mr. Rawat.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would request the panelists if they have any question. Okay, thank you. We will now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation is the same one, the impact of Internet of Things.
Sorry, I think Fatima too is online. She can
Yes,
complete.
yes. We are starting the same presentation. The impact of Internet of Things on individual privacy in smart home systems are reviewed by Fadimatu. You can now start sharing your screen.
Okay. So the title of my paper is a review on impact of Internet of Things, taking into consideration individual privacy in smart homes. So this is basically the general overview of our paper. Our paper basically is looking into IoT, specifically smart homes, where it looks into its security and ethical issues, then finally coming up with some recommendation, especially to the end users. So these are some of the technologies we have for an IoT smart home. We have cloud computing, communication, sensing, web intelligence, and much more. These are some of the technologies that has to do with a smart home based on IoT connectivity. So for an IoT to come into the real world, there are some challenges that it may undergo, which includes several attacks, malware attacks, and what have you. So in order to look at the security issues, these are some of the things that we have to look at. We have the authenticity of the data that is being shared, because basically a smart home is a kind of IoT aspects whereby things are connected in our homes. So it makes our homes convenient and how do I put it, pervasive. So however, besides the advantages, it's also look at the security issues. We have the authenticity. Is the data that is being shared over the internet authentic? That is, those accessing the data, are they really the ones accessing it? That is, probably they might provide their username, password, maybe facial recognitions, and what have you. Integrity is the data that is being sent, that is received. Confidentiality as well is also another security issue that has to do with a smart home connectivity. Another, remember, as I said earlier, we will be talking about security issues as well as ethical consideration. These are some of the ethical issues that has to do with smart home connectivity. We have the data. One of the ethical consideration is data sharing and autonomy. What is autonomy? Autonomy is the ability of an individual to control communications communications and relationship with other parties. So we have one of the prerequisite for this autonomy is privacy. So does individual really have control over their data? Do they allow, is their data viewed by any person? So there is need for the end users to have choice to those who view their data. Another one is unwanted distribution of data or invasion into physical. Okay, this also has to do with autonomy, where unwanted data or distribution of data and invasion into physical space or social relationships can hinder the capability of users to make their own decision. IoT data can contribute to users profiling, and as a result, thus profiling impacts the available choices by other third parties with access to the profile. Another issue relating to ethical consideration is the accuracy. The ethical issue will come in when there is inaccuracy of data and how it is damaged by the third party. How will the end users be compensated when their data becomes inaccurate or are mismanaged by the third parties? So these are some of the recommendations that we came up with. The ethical recommendations are the ability of users to be given control of their data and distribution of related services. So there is need for users to be allowed to have control over their data, who access it, and also there should be transparency in how their data are being distributed and gathered. Another recommendation is the ability to implement rules or cultures along with time dimensions. So this smart home.
Okay, we will continue further now. The next presentation is on exploiting UMI diagrams for test case generation, a review, and the presentation would be given by Raj Gaurang Tiwari. Mr. Tiwari, I would request you to kindly start sharing your screen. Please put your presentation on slideshow mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Raj Gaurang Tiwari, and the topic of my presentation is exploiting UML diagram for the test case generation. It's a review. So the topics which I am going to cover in this presentation, that is the introductory part, UML models, objective of this research work, the optimal test case generation using the activity diagram, state diagram, and sequence diagram, the analysis of test case generation using these diagrams, and the references. So as we know, testing is the integral part of the SDLC, and the UML diagrams which attracts the considerable attention from the research and professionals, and these diagrams has emerged as a important standard for the modeling software systems. So in this paper, we will look how to simplify the test cases, how to generate the test cases using these diagrams. And if we talk about the software testing, so the best practices that it should start very early. The whole code should be covered. Automated test cases generation, that is a very expected thing. And ultimately, all the bugs and errors must be removed and prevented. So if we talk about the test case generation, the basic part is that either triplet is prepared, that is ISO, and where I is for the data input, S is for the system state, and O is for the outcome. And so ultimately the test case generation, that is known as the test suite, and appropriate test procedure should be used for optimal test case generation. So the different issues whenever we will develop the object oriented systems, that maybe you can say interstate and intra-object message dependency, that must be considered while preparing the test cases. In the cases of inheritance, the deep class hierarchy also creates so much difficulty. In the case of polymorphism, it is very difficult to create the integration test plan. And whenever the abstract and generic classes are used, it is very difficult to create the test cases due to the unavailability of instances of the classes, as well as in the case of encapsulation, it does not permit exterior functions like debuggers to access the private attributes of the classes. So these are the different issues and difficulties which are generally felt whenever people are developing the object-oriented systems. And if we talk about the UML diagrams, basically that can be categorized into two. One, that is the structure and the behavior diagrams. Structure diagram, basically they state the static structure of the system, and if we talk about the behavior diagram, they just represent the complex section of the objects in the systems. These are the different UML diagrams, that is the structure diagrams and behavior diagrams. The category is illustrated here. As we people are pressed with time, I'm just moving forward. So the objective of this research was whatever the work which has been done in the case of automated test case generation using these you can say structure and behavior diagrams, that is under review in this research paper. So if we talk about the activity diagram, an example is shown here, and I'm just moving forward because we are pressed with the time. So if we talk about the activity diagram, so much research work has been done in this regard. Mr. Bhattacharya Gargi, they just introduced the approach of taboo search, in which they formulated an activity dependency table, that is the ADT, based on the activity diagram. And if we talk about the Florestel and others, they just use the easy test method in generating the UML activity test diagram test cases, and they also use the JUnit. Similarly, if we talk about the UPI and others, they just created the automatic test cases by using the SysML activity diagram. And if we talk about the Senate and others, they just transformation-based methodology was used for creating scenario-based test cases. And they first transformed the UML diagrams into the midterm representation, and after that they just created the test cases. I'm just moving very fast. And if we talk about the activity diagrams, one more research, more significant research by the Lipping Lia, they automated the systems for development of the UML activity diagrams by using the Euler circuit. And you can say, if you talk about some more research like Swan and others, they just introduce introduction of the representative intermediate tree called Comet tree that was made and you can say for the test cases generation. Now, the previous was the research of the using the, you can say, activity diagram. If we talk about the state diagram, so much research has been done. Someone you can say just transform the state diagram into the cause effect and cause effect, and Preeti Gulia just created the test cases by using the genetic algorithms also. So also one more important research in this field, like by P.R. Srivastava, who used the ant colony optimization, a tool for testing the viability of the existing state transition was used. So now if we talk about the sequence diagram, so I have covered the you can say activity diagrams, state diagram. Now the sequence diagram, by using the sequence diagram also, so many approaches has been used, just like the DP Mohapatra, that is a very important research paper in this particular field, and he used the Argo UML to construct the software sequence diagram. Similarly, Swan and others, they use the UDG, that is the use case dependency graph for creating the test cases. And similarly, Bihare and Hosani use the genetic algorithms for the purpose of test case generation. So ultimately, if we talk about the conclusion from this particular these research, you can say most of the studies transform the activity diagram into some intermediate state into a graph or tree to produce the test cases. By using the state diagram, majority of approaches exploited the conception of genetic algorithm. In this research, we address the work on the development of test case generation by the object-oriented systems. What are the different issues and difficulties with the object-oriented systems, and how the UML diagrams can be used for creating the test cases. With this, I would like to conclude. These are the references. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists, if you have any questions. Otherwise, we will move ahead. The next presentation is on Find the lost items via mobile app, and the presentation would be given by Ms. Pushpa Chaudhary.
Myself, Dr. Pushpa Chaudhary, working as a professor in GL Bajaj, and my topic is find the lost item via the mobile app. Basically, what is the content here? Problem statement. Okay, I will. Problem statement of this research is nothing but how do I find something that I lost, and how do I inform others that I found something. Basically, if someone lost the item, so that fellow can get the item if someone find that item, and he will update the data on the app, which is basically here it is designed. So now to provide user a feasible solution where they can interact with the other people to find their lost item, or to return someone's lost item found by them. We are going to provide an Android app which will help them to find their belongings. And they can find their items by chatting with the founders of the item by viewing their post. Now what is here the introduction here, Android native application that enables user to post lost and find items. Find My is a platform, a mobile application platform where a person can post things he found, tagging the location and other details. The person who lost can search it, selecting an area on the map. The application will allow both of them to chat and pass the required details of claiming, the lost article. It integrates the easy shipping API for the shipment service. Now, technology used in this app, that is the Springboard, Docker, Android, and PostgreSQL. Now, why we are using, okay, that I'm going to leave this. Now, these are the hardware which we are using to design this application. And this one is the login page here. Now, this is the first window, mobile application, that is the found and lost. If someone found, that fellow can click on this found button, and if someone lost, then he can update their item key what he lost. And this is the location. By the location you can, this is the, so you can also find the post on map by finding the person who have your item. Try to connect with them through the chat also. You can chat with that fellow, and then you can deliver the items. And if you're happy, if you're finding the item, if you're happy, you can pay as a reward point, as a gift point. So these are the what has been accomplished in this. That is a planning, web designing, database, all these things. Future work is here, the integrate easy shipping API for delivery and integrate the Razor Pay. And result analysis. Find Mine is a centralized app which enables you to find something you have lost or post details about items you have found. All you do is to upload details about your lost item, and you are on the road to finding it. Alternatively, if you find something and want to do the right things, it is easy to just upload details and photographs, location, etc. Whether you are in your hometown or access the world, losing or finding things is now headache-free experience thanks to Find Mine. This is the application. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Chaudhary. Panelists, if you have any questions. Okay, thank you. Okay, then we will move ahead with the next presentation. The next presentation is on identifying the flooded area using deep learning model, and the presentation would be given by Emmanuel Charles.
Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Charles, and my project is identifying the flood area using deep learning model, and I'm from Satyabama University. These are my presentation outline. First, introduction. Actually, we might know from recent years, most of countries were facing some natural disasters like earthquake, flood, and all those things. More than 6,000 people were died during these natural disasters. And our project is to aim to identify the river flood. Why? Because river flood is a major disaster which affects most of the people, and most countries were majorly affected by this natural disaster. And these are my literature review in my same word. The objective is to identify the low-level areas and river project to identify the river flooded areas. Mostly flooded areas were mostly affected by these low-lying areas and these water reservoirs areas and all those things. For that, we're using some algorithms like K-means algorithm, CNN, and PC algorithm for this. And our first input is that satellite images with 1 to 12 bands with the same dimensions. this is my system architecture. First, we using the input satellite image with different bands, and then we are bringing the NVDI, NDMI for classifying the water reservoirs and land images for all land areas. Then for giving a sharp data we use as PCA that will clean the data and to give sharp images which are present in the satellite images. Identify the clusters present in the satellite images, we use as k-means, and then for virtualization of clusters, we use a virtualized clusters, and then output will be given, and then we use as the CNN to make a decision that whether these areas will be affected by flood or not. And the project implementation is first we need a satellite images with different band of same dimensions, and we need to identify the features of images. We use as GDAL packages and georaster packages and all those things. And for green patch lands, and I have already said that green patch lands to identify the land areas and water areas, we use as NVDI, NDMI. For sharp details, we use as PCA, and for clusters, we use as the k-means, and for virtualization, we use virtual clusters. These are my output from that, which are obtained from NVDI. We get output like this. For vary NDMI, we can see the difference between the land and the water images. And then these inputs are given to the PCA. From this PCA, we can give the sharp details about the satellite images. And then the output from the clusters, we get the output like we can classify that high level lands, low level lands, and mid level lands, and water reservoirs which are flown in the satellite images. And then output. These are the danger if the river flood occurs, what are the areas will be affected, or all those things are sketched and will be given as an output. And this accuracy of k-means and CNN, and we get so many accuracy like 91.4 and 94.3. And conclusion, this project is mainly used to identify the flooded areas, which are the peoples are going to be located, people who are going to build the home in that particular area. This project will aim to identify whether these lands will be affected by flood, and to safeguard this project is where mainly used. So this is my output from NVDI and Vary and NDMI. And these are PCA images that input images went to PCA, and we get clear details about the satellite image. And this output from that PCA, we get clusters, and k-means we get the clusters. We can see that the data from the satellite images. And this output, which are being endangered areas when river floods are occurred. These are accuracy. We got 91.4 in k-means and CNN for 90.3. And conclusion, this project is for make the people to make decision whether the areas are safe to construct the home in that area. These are my references.
Okay, thank you. We will carry on further. Next, the presentation is on a bio-objective model for hospital evacuation and reliable pharmaceutical supply chain for critical patients. And the presentation would be given by Mr. Ali Nawai.
Bio-objective model for hospital evacuation and reliable pharmaceutical supply chain for critical patients. Governments need to have a comprehensive and precise plan for emergency evacuation is felt more than ever. Hospitals are places that, due to presence of vulnerable people and some dangerous chemical materials, need a perfect and accurate plan for emergency evacuation. We present a bio-objective, multi-period, multi-product model for hospital evacuation and pharmaceutical supply chain for critical patients. Evacuation is an operation that usually occurs at the time of disasters, floods, earthquakes, storms, or unexpected events such as fires, bomb threats, and etc. Hospital evacuation has been investigated in two categories: behavior and social, or modeling and operations. In recent years, most of the studies have been conducted in the first category, and less attention has been paid to mathematical modeling. In this paper, we designed an emergency network that covers hospital evacuation operations and delivering medications to patients in critical condition. Critical patients are cared in temporary centers that must be selected between candidate locations. The main contribution of our paper are as follow. It provides a bioobjective model with cost and humanitarian considerations. It covers both our benefits and the benefit of the patients. It considers two types of destination for evacuees. Receiving hospitals with its characteristic and temporary care centers also with its characteristic. Designing a pharmaceutical supply chain for transporting medicines to temporary care center with transshipment between them, and the parameter of demand is considered probabilistic, which makes the situation more realistic and increasing reliability of supply chain by considering the risk of facility disruption. This is a mathematical model of our paper. Objective function 1 considered cost and minimum total cost, and objective function 2 is about increasing reliability of supply chain. We solved a small and medium instance of a problem. The experimental result and Pareto chart of objective function to accelerate evacuation operations and increase patient safety. Several temporary care centers are built, and pharmaceutical supply chain is provided for hospitalized patients in temporary center. The proposed model can help the manager to improve their plan for hospital evacuation operations in emergency times. And thank you for attention.
Okay, thank you so much. Next presentation is on a critical review on the application of optimization technique in the UN Sustainable Development's goal. And the presentation would be given by Umar Muhammad. He's the panelist here. Okay, I
Yes.
would request you to please switch on your camera and start the presentation.
So this is a title, as we all know, UN Sustainable Development Goal came in 2015. Was no time, I will skip some of the slides. This is the overview of the paper, the abstract, introduction, optimization techniques. So we try to review some optimization techniques used in this aspect of sustainable UN Sustainable Development Goals since 2015 to date. And so this is the introductions about talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are some of the literature reviewed in that aspect. And these are the basic models, optimization techniques used in this aspect. There's classical goal programming, stochastic, modified stochastic goal programming, there's the graphical, and so on and so forth. And so for classical goal programming, this is the model given by Chance and Cooper, 1962. The model used to try to minimize the deviation from the goal. As we know, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, all the member countries have their target towards achievement in 2030. So setting these targets, this target can be achieved, can be overachieved or underachieved. So this model tries to always minimize the overachievement and the achievements of goals by the decision maker. So the simple explanation of these models is that this constraint related to the constraint, and this is the objective function, this is the goal. So if there is an overachievement, so it tries to minimize this, and if there is an underachievement, it tries to minimize this. So this is the classical goal programming models. And the stochastic is when you consider the problem under probabilistic, because some of the decision-making problems are due to uncertainty, you cannot predict. So they try to incorporate some aspect of probability. So the goal follow a certain particular statistical distribution, which is given as normal. This is the model. The difference between this and the previous model is the addition of the probabilistic model. And this will take us to the modified stochastic. This model also used by some authors in analyzing sustainable development goals of some countries. And the method was proposed by Auni 2012, and it is known as modified stochastic goal programming. And this is the model. And then taking us to lithographical goal programming. This is also a situation whereby the set of goals, decision maker give priorities to certain goals. So he tried to minimize those with high priority, try to optimize them before going to the lower goals with lower priority. And this is the model given by, it's also a variant of goal programming. And another model used in this aspect of UN Sustainable Development Goals is the polynomial goal programming. It's also used in United Arab Emirates by some authors. And another method is also weighted goal programming. These are all variants of the classical goal programming with some slight modifications based on the decision makers' aspiration level and input information. So these are another aspect of the model used in this regard is also fuzzy set. It's also used when there's some vagueness or uncertainty in the input parameters. So they use fuzzy goal programming also is applied in this regard. And this is the model given, and it has so many different membership functions. But in the literature, the one considered in US development goals is the triangular fuzzy goal programming. That is triangular fuzzy number, which is given in this model. The membership of 3 different types. When you have less than or equal to equality, that your goal is not up to the expectation, or when you have greater than or equal to a situation whereby it is allowed for with some little margin that you can increase the goal value with a certain allowable level. So you use the greater than or equal to inequalities, and the equality, which is a strong, or we call it strict inequality, and it's given by, it also weighted when try to maximize the weight of the membership function. We use this model. All models are used in sustainable development goal. Another one is AHP. AHP is actually used to, it's a subjective method of getting the weight of the goals by decision makers, trying to compare comparative matrix to have how goal A, if you have 2 or 3 goals, what is their relative importance? How important goal 1 is to goal 2, and what is the relationship between goal 2 and goal 3, and so on. So based on that, decision makers will get responses and form a matrix to get weights and use the weight in some of the aforementioned techniques. And another method recently used is COXO method, which is known as combined compromise solution method. It's a combination of the 2 methods mentioned above, and it was initially integrated to solve multi-criteria decision-making problems. So, and finally, also Shannon entropy was also used. And this is the model given by the Hobson method and the Shannon entropy. This is the model given. So these are based on the literature review, these are the available methods used in sustainable development goals using optimization techniques. So these are the overview of the application area. It has been applied in African countries, United Arab Emirates, European countries, in Asia, most especially in India. So many works have been done in this aspect, as you can see in the. So this is in conclusion. We found out that goal programming and its variants are the mostly used in the analysis of SDGs 2030 agenda, and followed by AHP, then TOPSIS, VICO, then DEA, that is data envelopment analysis, and so on and so forth. So in brief, this is what this review found out on the optimization techniques applied in sustainable development goals. So these are some of the references, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. And I would now proceed further for the next presentation. The next presentation is on the title Investigation of Solar Passive Concepts in Building Envelope for Reduction of Energy Usage. And the presentation would be given by Mr. Jaspal Singh.
So, good afternoon, everyone. The title of my presentation here is Investigation of Solar Passive Concepts in Building Envelope for Reduction of Energy Usage. Now, the efficient utilization of the renewable energy by reducing the dependency on conventional energy sources has become the major concern currently in the field of engineering and scientific research in order to mitigate the environmental issues caused by the conventional sources. Our work here presents passive solar concepts and its integration in the building envelope design to provide thermal, lighting, acoustic comfort for occupants residing in the building without the help of any conventional space heating and cooling techniques. Now, passive integration of the solar energy in building is one of the effective way by which maximum solar heat gains and low energy consumption can be achieved without the help of any mechanical systems. In this article, I'll be focusing on different passive space heating and cooling concepts that can be integrated in the building envelope for utilization of the solar energy, which is renewable, and hence it reduces the consumption of conventional energy resources. Now, there are several methods by which passive heating can be utilized. It is one of the conventional method by which we can use the heat energy to cool down the system or to heat down the system in our storage. In this particular diagram, there are several methods which are being shown by which the heat energy can be used by the sun in passive way. Passive way means indirectly. So if we see the path of the sun in summers it is comparatively at a higher angle. In winters, it is comparatively at a lower angle. So we can provide a shade or an insulated collector at the top so that the heat in the summers do not enter directly into our system, and the heat in the winters can be entered directly into our system. The second of the component of this passive heating is we have a black thermal energy storage system, which may be floor also, which may be wall also. The next of the component is distributor. In this case, or in my case, I have taken the help of a thromb wall, which I'll be discussing in the further slides also. And I have taken the help of a phase change material also. So third of the component in this passive heating system is a thermal storage component or thermal mass component, which may be floor also, which may be wall also. And the last one is collector. Collector means our thermal energy storage system. If I describe the first concept, which is passive wall concept, this passive wall concept constitutes the largest portion of a building envelope and is responsible to provide acoustic and thermal comfort without compromising on the aesthetic of the building. This wall acts as a medium for thermal transmission, thermal control for the transfer of solar radiation into the building. The thermal performance of a wall, which is a very crucial function in deciding the energy consumption of a building. Hence, an appropriate type of wall is important in reducing the energy consumption. For this, three options are available. The first of the option is we can use a thermal storage divider constructed of solid. It means there will be no vents in between. So in this case, we directly use the solar energy which enters into a glazing, strikes our storage wall. This storage wall stores the heat energy, which is further used by our storage system, means our compartment or our room later in the night to carry out the heating effect. In this case, since there is no vent, the storage wall directly supplies the heat energy into our system. The second of the option available for the wall which can be provided is vented wall. In this wall, vents are also available. It means in this case, we take the help of the air which is there in between our glazing and our thromb wall. Thromb wall means storage wall. Now, when the heat energy enters into our system with the help of this glazing, the air warms up, it becomes lighter, it rises up, and provided the vent at the top, it enters into our room or in our system. And the cooler air which is there in our room or our system is forced out from the vent which is placed at the bottom of the wall. By this way, the air circulation also takes place. It means the advantage of this system is it can be used as thermal control system. Apart from this, it also helps in the ventilation. And the third of the option available for the walls which can be provided is water walls. Now in this water walls, what we do, we provide the water containers just behind the concrete layer. The heat energy is being stored into the water whose storage capacity is much more than that of concrete. It is approximately 5 times more than that of concrete. And finally, the heat energy is being supplied into our room or into our system by these water tanks which are being provided into the wall. I have conducted my studies on the second option in which the vent was being provided, and I'm currently working on optimization of the space which should be in between the wall and our glazing. So first of the option of solar heating concept is by the provision of the walls. Now the second of the concept which is involved here is of phase change material. We can also provide phase change materials in our walls in order to use the heat energy and finally supply it into our system when it is required. These phase change materials are those materials which absorbs the energy, changes their phase, and further releases the energy whenever it is required. So phase change material functioning is dependent upon the absorption of the surplus energy when it is abundant and releasing it afterward when there is a lack of energy. So PCM based drywalls plays a remarkable role in saving the cooling and heating energy, and thus it is energy efficient. I have worked upon two of the phase change material. One is paraffin based phase change material. The second is Rubitherm RT line. Rubitherm is the name of the company which is supplying this phase change material. It is a mixture of sodium chloride and sodium sulfate. In my studies, I found that paraffin based phase change material is capable of reducing the temperature up to 6 degrees Celsius. Whereas in case of Rubitherm RT line, I'm able to achieve the energy efficiency of 34%. It was able to reduce the temperature approximately by 5.5 degrees Celsius. The difference between both the phase change material is how they are being provided into the wall. The paraffin based phase change material was incorporated in gypsum wall board, whereas Rubitherm RT line was incorporated in concrete wall directly. Now, these were the concepts which are used in passive heating. The next of the solar passive concept is of passive cooling, which is not so popular. Now, the most sustainable way of providing ventilation, lighting, cooling necessity inside a home is by utilizing the purpose of the sun, wind, while the construction only. So not much of the studies or research is being carried out in the case of passive cooling concept. However, there are several conventional systems which are available which can be used to utilize the passive cooling concepts in our envelope system so that the cooling effect can be used. Like we can provide a wind catcher, like high solar reflection, double glazing, and several other options. So conclusion of the entire study is that different passive solar concepts can be incorporated in the building envelope for reducing the overall building energy consumption. Various wall concepts provide passive heating by allowing the heat to pass through the walls and provide passive cooling by blocking the sunlight and without allowing the heat to pass through the walls. These passive concepts promise a sustainable growth in providing the thermal comfort, hence mitigates many environmental issues like global warming. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh. Panelists, if you have any questions. So on behalf of Amity University, I would like to thank all of you. And I thank from the bottom of my heart. Also, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the guests who were present today. I especially thank our Professor Dr. Gurinder Singh Sir, Group Vice Chancellor, Amity Universities, Professor Bhavna Kumar Ma'am, Vice President RBEF, Amity Education Group, Amity University, who have especially joined the session to motivate all of us. I thank all the eminent session chairs, especially Dr. Umar Mohammed Modibu, Dr. Fariba, Mr. Subarao, who are experts in their areas and have taken out time to be here with us. We are looking forward for their such more presence in future. Thank you so much, all of you. You have joined with us. I thank Mr. A.K. Chaudhary, sir, VP Personnel and Registrar, and Dr. Nana Chaudhary, ma'am, who have been continuously involved in encouraging each one of us to organize this wonderful conference. I would also like to thank the organizing committee, faculty members, student committee, and the support staff and presenters for the complete preparation for this conference. Thank you so much, everyone, joining here with us. We will be back with the next session at 2. Thank you so much.